Feeling that cost of living crunch? Labara are here to help.
All I want is great customer service and network, but for less.
That's why Labara gives you 15 gigabytes of 5G data and unlimited UK minutes and text for just £10 a month. Plus, no contract, change or cancel anytime.
An excellent customer service.
So what's stopping you joining the bill-busting revolution? Labara. More for less.
Good morning and welcome back to the final day of the British Diving Championships of 2023. I'm Jack Haslam. I'll be taking you through today's events, and we had Jack Law here over the last couple of days, so great to hear from him. Today, I'm delighted to say I'm joined up in the commentary by Yona Knight Wisdom. You might have seen him yesterday on the 3-metre synchro event and also in the 3-metre individual event. So welcome, Yona.
Morning, Jack. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good to have a chat with you over the day. Obviously, it's nice for us to have a little catch up whilst we're here talking about diving too.
Absolutely. It's nice to be on both sides of diving these days. You know, it's cool to be in the pool, cool to be back doing my thing in the water, but it's also cool to, you know, watch it from this perspective, have a little closer look at some of the other divers. I'm sure the analysis with Jack Law has been awesome the last few days. It's a shame we didn't see him in the pool, because obviously what he can do in the pool is amazing. But I imagine and I hope it was cool to hear some of his insights from this perspective. So, yeah, look, there we are on the little screen.
Absolutely. So, yeah, obviously, like you said, you weren't in the Nationals in February. You've had quite a bad injury, is to say. 80% tear in the quad, is that right?
80% tear of the rectus femoris tendon, which is the tendon that attaches the main quad muscle to the patella. So actually not the worst injury I think could have happened. It could have been the ACL, it could have been something else. That would have been a bit worse, I think, because the recovery process is a lot longer. Fortunately, with the tendon is that it's right there, very obvious, very clear. They were able to get in, operate on it straight away, and the recovery process could essentially start immediately. And, you know, it's just been a case of me working hard, trying my best to get back to fitness as quickly as possible, which I have been able to, fortunately. There wasn't much protocol beforehand. We didn't know of any other athlete that had been injured in this way, so we didn't know how long it was going to take. But I think I've surprised myself and most people by the speed that I've been able to get
one of those
fitness.
people. Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously, speaking from seeing the bits of training that I've seen you do and the little bits that you see on social media and everything, it's been great to see you, you know, set an example to those around you of when you do have an injury like you have, you've still been working really hard, obviously. Like you saw yesterday, still in great shape, you know, keeping anything ticking over that you can do and trying to improve on other things that you can potentially do whilst you have that time off with your knee. How have you found going about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the idea of inspiring other people. Over the years, as I've developed as an athlete, I've been inspired by so many other athletes. I love watching sport, and I've taken so much from other athletes around the world and what they've done. And I feel like now it's my turn to kind of give that back to sport. So that's why I'm very active on social media. That's why I try to be very open and speak about how I'm feeling and what's going on, like the real side of it, not just the good side of it. I want to show the bad side of it as well, because, you know, sport is tough, it's hard. And what I've been through is an example of the challenge of sport. It's really, really tough. And that sometimes, you know, it can get you down, but you've always got to be positive, you've always got to look forward, and you can always get better. So that's what motivated me, that's what it made me want to keep on just pushing, because I knew I could get better, I knew I could get back to the level that I wanted to be at. It was a matter of how long that could take, but the only, you know, kind of barrier between me and getting back to that level is just hard work.
Yeah.
And I was willing to put in the hard work, I did it, and, you know, I'm starting to see a few benefits now, and there's still more that I can go. So after this, it's just about going home, getting my head down, but, you know, you can expect the same from me, just pure energy, pure focus, but also just trying to share the story, share the journey with people, to show what is possible.
Yeah. Amazing. Again, you mentioned sharing the journey. Obviously, you have competed for Jamaica over multiple years at multiple events, Olympic Games and other amazing events. You're now doing synchro. You've got a Jamaican synchro partner in Johan. How is that going?
Yeah.
Well, we saw yesterday that it's looking like it's headed in the right direction.
Actually, I think our score was very similar to what we scored in our last synchro event before my injury, which is really positive because, you know, I haven't lost too much, and there is room for both of us to improve significantly going forward to the summer, going forward to 2024. So that'll come hopefully, and that'll be shown in the score by the time that comes around. But it's great. It's good for me to have another event, something else to look forward to, but also, you know, someone to guide through the process as well, the process that I've been through, the challenges that I've encountered. You know, I can help guide him and try and give him the opportunities that I've experienced over the last decade or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's awesome. It really is awesome.
Yeah, it's great to see, and obviously another pair that going to hotly compete those spots for the Olympic Games next year. 7 qualify. Obviously, we have 8 in the event at the Olympic Games, but the home nation always get granted one of those spots. So yeah, it will be a tough ask, but of course, if you keep moving in the right direction, I don't think there's anything to stop you getting one of those spots.
Yeah, that synchro spot is a challenge in all the events looking forward to next year. You know, you want to try and get it done as soon as possible, but that's a medal at the next World Championships, which is really tough. Other than that, at the second opportunity, I really think it's a toss-up between 7, 8, 9 teams potentially for those 4 remaining spots. So it's just about who turns up on the day, who wants it on the day, who's done the preparation, who's put themselves in the right place for it. And, you know, we can only try our best and see where that places us. And regardless, it's going to be a fun journey and it's going to be an amazing opportunity.
Absolutely. So moving on to today's events, our first prelim this morning is the women's 3-metre. We follow that with the men's 10-metre platform, and then this afternoon we have a bit of an earlier start at 3 o'clock for the finals again, starting with the women's 3-metre final, and the men's 10-metre final will follow up and finish our competitions for the weekend. We've got 17 divers in this morning's prelim, so quite a few new faces that we haven't seen so far, such as Scarlett Mew-Jensen, who's, well, we saw her in the 3 meter synchro, I should say, but not in the individual event on 1 meter. Got some faces that are returning from the 1 meter event as well. We have Yasmin Harper, who was the champion on 1 meter. Have you got anyone you're looking out for this morning, Yona?
I think it's going to be a really interesting competition. There's a few girls in there using obviously very similar dives, so it all comes down to execution. I'm just interested to kind of see who is looking good in the prelim, because the prelim's all about getting a feel of the event, the feel of the situation, and the final is going to be where it really kicks off, and we see who steps up. So I think for this event in particular, the prelim might be a little bit nervy, might see a few mistakes here and there, but I think they'll all really zone in for the final. It'll be a really exciting final, particularly if some of the main contenders for the top few spots get into those top spots in the prelim, so they're all battling one after another in the final. It'll be really exciting. But yeah, it'll be great to see Catherine coming back from shoulder surgery last year, seeing how she's progressed and developed in that past year. Obviously with Ross, he had the exact same injury, the exact same surgery last year, and look what he's been able to do this week. So
yeah, you mentioned the boys as well. We obviously saw there's a number of boys at the top of the rankings that were all battling out. I think we're going to see very similar today. It's very hard to call. There's probably 6, 7 women here who could all take the title, really. So it will be interesting. We have 12 athletes that will go through to the final, so 5 will miss out. 3 guests in there as well. Normally, only have top 2 guests through to the final. This Nationals has been a little bit different. Up to 6 can go through to the final, which has probably been nice for you, Yona.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit less stressful, the prelim, because it gives you a bit more chance of actually making it through to the final, whereas there's been times where I've been a bit unsure, especially when there's been some good guests around. Fortunately, it wasn't too challenging for me to make it through this time. I had a really good prelim. But yeah, for the guests in this event, they're pretty good divers. So actually, it's probably good for those younger Brits to try and challenge those guests, and it almost becomes a bit of an international competition in certain ways, because you are competing against the international divers as well as the British divers to make it through to the final. So for some of the younger ones, maybe the less experienced ones, it's going to be a bit of a battle for them to try and make it through. But I hope to see some new names in that final. Looking forward to seeing Holly May Prasanto after her amazing silver medal in 1 meter, right?
Yeah, very impressive on 1 meter.
That was quality, so it'll be interesting to see if she can carry through that confidence and that energy into 3 meter.
Yeah, she does. I spoke to her yesterday. She does describe 1 meter as her favourite event over the 2. She's using a tuck list this morning on the 3 meters, so a little bit lower down in degree of difficulty, but hopefully we can see the same execution that we saw from her on the 1 meter. So there you can see our start list. Mentioned 17 divers. Scarlett Mew-Jensen kicking off the field. Amy Rollinson at the end of the start list there. We are ready to start now. Our judges are in place. First diver on the board, as we've just mentioned, Scarlett Mew-Jensen. So similar to the 1 meter, the divers will have 5 dives in this event. Have to cover each direction, forward, inward, back and twist. Scarlett starts with an inward 2.5 somersaults pike.
So much for nerves. What a great start from Scarlett. That was quality. Really, really strong, confident takeoff. Beautiful awareness, good hands on the water. Great start.
Yeah, great start from Scarlett. Inward can sometimes be probably the hardest one out of the pike spinning dives for the girls. Scarlett does not make it look difficult there with her opening dive. Next up, Libby. Seen her throughout quite a few events this weekend already. Great start from her. Yeah, someone you know pretty well, I'm sure.
That's right. The 2 Edinburgh girls, they've had a busy program this week, and they were going to do 1 meter as well, but they were taken out of 1 meter just to give them a little bit of a rest, so they could carry some energy into this event. So it's great to see them, just getting so much exposure, so much experience. That's what it's all about at that age, just experience alongside these great divers, and a solid start there for Libby.
Yeah, easier on the degree of difficulty at 1.9, but great rip entry through the water too. Claire Crichton, first dive forward 2.5 somersaults 1 twist. We saw her do this on the 1 meter, which was amazing to see.
Yeah, I told Claire that now she's doing full out on 1 meter. She's got to add an extra twist on 3 meter, but not today. Let's see how she makes that. And it should actually make the dive on 3 meter feel a lot easier. You know, if you can work it round on 1 meter, it should feel like a cruise on 3 meter where she can really focus on trying to get as good an entry as possible now. She wasn't able to that time, but you could see how easy the dive looked.
She's got a great hurdle, Claire. She's so high up in the air. She's got almost 3 meters there to just have a look at the water and get her entry. So steady start from Claire. Now we have Amelie Underwood, just back from representing Team GB at the Dresden Youth International. She's starting with a back spinning dive, like 2.5 somersaults tuck. Oh, very good.
Not bad. I saw a bit of a chin lift on the takeoff, which wasn't a huge fan of. I thought it might affect the awareness a little bit, but that's clearly a technique that she's comfortable with. She was able to find her way out of the dive and get decent hands, even though it went slightly over from vertical. It was a good rip entry and a good start to the competition for Amelie.
Yeah, Amelie looks like she's very aware in her back and reverse spinning dives. She similarly on 1 meter was pretty accurate on those. Now Evie's going to do the same dive, but this time in the pike position. That means degree of difficulty is bumped up by 0.2, 3.0 for this.
Just lacking that little bit of firepower up on the takeoff, kind of fell away a little bit and was just spinning a little bit too fast down towards the water, which makes it very difficult to control on the bottom, unfortunately.
Yeah, I like the action into the pike shape. She extends her arms behind her ears and wraps around into a nice pike shape. Unfortunately, just didn't quite find the entry there.
It's good to see her really pushing her list now with the difficulty up to the level of the rest of the girls.
Now Yasmin, our current reigning 3 meter British champion. Her first dive, similar to her training teammate Claire Cryan. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist. Great start there from Yasmin. Beautiful timing on the hurdle step. You can barely even hear her hit the end of the board. Miles up in the air. Great rip entry too. So good scores there, 67.5. Really good opening dive from her.
That's a great dive to start with from Yasmin. Should be super happy with that one.
Now Amelia, her first British Nationals. We saw her compete in the 1 meter too. Up on the 3 meter now, inward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
I loved her position on the takeoff. High heels pressing into the board, body position upright, and great height on the takeoff. Nice spinning dive, just washed over past vertical, a touch on the end.
Yeah, really good direction there from Amelia. It's quite a difficult skill to have the bravery to stay tall on those inward takeoffs to enable you to get all the height out of the board. Especially when you've got long legs like yourself, Fiona, and you're spinning around in a pike position.
Yeah, there's a little bit of fear that comes into me when I'm doing the 2.5 pike. I like to push it a little bit away from the board, which again doesn't help because I don't make it.
Holly with the exact same dive. Again, another really nice takeoff.
Yeah, great takeoff. A little bit early on the pike out, which is a bit of a shame, but the takeoff was really strong.
They mentioned on the 1 meter, Holly is out in America studying at Rutgers University. Now someone we are very familiar with, been champion in this event many times over the last few years. Grace Reed, another forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist, full out.
You could call her a veteran now, but I'm not sure she'll be too happy about that.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely, I'll avoid that one. Although she'd probably just punch us or something and it'll be all right.
Exactly, but she's proved it with her experience there. Great, strong start with a nice full out. You know, keeping up the pace with Yasmin.
So first time we're going to see Deshawn this weekend. She's just using the forward 2.5 somersaults here. She dislocated her shoulder a couple of months back, so great to see her back. She hasn't put the extra somersault on this dive like she normally does just because of that shoulder injury. I believe this was the dive, well, the forward 3.5 was the dive that she incurred the injury on. So bit easier on the degree of difficulty, but very nicely executed there.
And that's it. She's young. There's no need to, you know, force it too much. It's all about thinking about the future and making sure that things heal as well as possible going forward. So that is a great decision. But I'm pretty sure she's at the standard level for the rest of her list.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We'll see her build throughout the rest of the competition.
Maya there with a back 2.5 somersaults pike, just not quite getting all the rotations in, so you can see the water splash up a little bit off her shoulders.
Moving on now to Catherine. She, I think, did a great job in the 1 meter. You know, really pushing hard, make it back from that shoulder injury. I think she'll see the 1 meter as a bit more of a preparation competition for the 3 meter. This is probably her favourite event.
Yeah, she did really well up in Edinburgh in the winter. Came second with a score of 304 points. Hopefully we can see very similar here today.
Yeah, great dive to open with a little bit over past vertical, but you know, she's really good at holding those entries even if she doesn't land perfectly upright. She's very strong in that respect, particularly on back and reverse. So that's a good start from Catherine. You know, as we said, it's not all about hitting your dives 100% in the prelims, just about kind of getting a feel for the competition, and that's exactly what she'll take from that dive.
Yeah, like you said, getting through to the final is the important part. It's maybe important to note that there is a prelim score for divers to hit if they are to qualify for the World Championships, but it is very attainable for a lot of these girls. Amelia was incredibly impressive on the 1 meter.
Yeah, her inward 2.5 and reverse 2.5 are quality, aren't they? And it's great to see the girls pushing the degree of difficulty on 1 meter. Hopefully we start to see that transferring up to 3 meter a little bit more, maybe with some more double outs and things like that. We're seeing it a little bit more internationally, but not quite in British diving just yet. But yeah, it's good to see.
Yeah, very impressive diver. A teammate, both Swedish. Nina starts with an inward 2.5, slightly lower down on the degree of difficulty, 2.7. She was really accurate with her ends on 1 meter, and very similar there.
Yeah, pretty accurate. A little bit of chin down on the come out, so she just rolled over past vertical. She's got to look for that water a little bit sooner and stretch forward just to finish it off. But you know, 6.5, 7s just to start off with is, again, really solid.
Now Tilly is going to do exactly the same dive, but in the pike position. So you get an extra 0.3 in the inward direction. Mentioned this one being probably one of the harder ones. Is that a little toe clip, I think?
I thought I heard a little toe tap there, and that's the jeopardy with the inward 2.5 pike. You know, you've got to be really brave to stay over the board to get the balance, to get the rotation. But if you're a bit too close, you might have that little tap of the toes on the board, and it's not the worst thing in the world, but obviously it'll slow your speed down, affect your entry, and it'll affect the scores that you'll get from the judges.
And maybe get some sore toes as well.
Yeah, definitely. No one wants a sore toe.
So there's Ellen with a forward 1.5 somersaults, 1 twist. Simpler twisting dive, just 2.1, but very nicely executed again there from Ellen.
Yeah, Ellen's, I think, still a junior, so it's a dive that is important in her junior career, but she's definitely got some work to do to build a degree of difficulty on 3 meter, but as she gets older and stronger, that'll definitely come.
So our last dive of the first round is Amy. She had a bit of a breakthrough year last year. Some really good exposure to a lot of events. She's such a strong girl. You can see her piking out well early on that inward 2.5 somersaults pike. No trouble from her making it.
Yeah, she actually fell away from the board a little bit too much, which made the dive a little bit more difficult to make. So she actually did a really good job of holding the composure and doing the right thing, working the come out and working for the water.
So onto the second round. Scarlett Mew Jensen with her reverse 2.5 somersaults pike. I think she's changed her list order.
Yeah, she used to go like inward front or inward full out or something like that for reverse to be the first hurdle is quite a brave and bold move, but that's a great dive. Really strong and confident in that hurdle. A touch away from the end, which made the dive a little bit stuck, but again, she did a really good thing in waiting, placing the feet up towards the roof, then reaching back for the water with confidence. Good dive.
Impressive there from Scott. Being back on the end of the board, sometimes you can cause you to kind of overcorrect and maybe just doubt yourself a little bit, but she's got the awareness there to just put her feet in the right place and get some steady scores. Now Libby, back 2.5 somersaults tuck. This one's 2.8 degree of difficulty. Oh, that's a shame there from Libby.
Yeah, I noticed that she moved her feet quite far forward on the takeoff, so her entire foot was actually placed on the board. What I prefer to see is the toes staying still, pushing through the toes. You get a little bit more work and more help from the board, whereas Libby unfortunately just dropped like a stone, and when you're doing a back 2.5, that's really tough.
Yeah, we'll see Claire do the same dive, so hopefully we'll see her show off those rip entries that we know she can do. Mentioned her really skilled knee save that I think gives her one of the best rip entries in this field.
Yeah, really strong job. Left it a little bit short. It looked a little bit slow on the somersault speed, unfortunately for Claire there, but again, she made a good decision, kicked up and worked the knee stave, even though she landed slightly short on the entry for sevens.
So Amelie starts with back and reverse. 2 backward spinning dives. Probably slightly more uncommon. Divers do tend to have a preference whether they prefer spinning back or forwards. Do you have a preference, Jonah?
Not anymore, really. I used to feel pretty comfortable on back and reverse in terms of the awareness and getting an end, but at this point now I'm pretty comfortable with all of them, so I actually don't like to have a back or reverse specifically following one another, because I just want each dive to be its individual thing. So I don't necessarily want one dive to relate to the next. But I've still got a kind of process and a flow through my list. So I think I just want balance. I search for balance throughout. I don't want to put too much of an emphasis on one, because then maybe that takes the emphasis away from the other. And unfortunately in men's diving, all 6 are very, very important. In all diving, all 6 dives are very important.
Oh, very nice there from Evie. Good recovery after a little bit of a drop on her back 2.5 in the first round. Really liked the attack on that hurdle step.
Yeah, she looked like she was leaning slightly forward, but did a good job to control the end. I was a little bit worried that she would come out a little bit too late and roll it over on the shoulders. But yeah, she did a great job with finding that entry position and holding the rip down.
So Yasmin, really good start from her. 67.5 on her opening dive. Put her in second, slightly behind Grace Reed, who got 69. First of her standing dives.
Very good. Great dive. A little bit leaning away from the board, but it's actually Yasmin's technique. That's just her technique, and she makes it work.
Yeah,
a little bit more balance might bring the scores maybe up a touch if she gets the end, but yeah, she makes that work really well.
Got quite a bendy back. She's able to extend her back and then wind back into that pike shape. Amelia with a forward 3.5 somersaults tuck. Great patience on the takeoff. She waited for the springboard, got her arms all the way up to her ears, moved for the throw. Just didn't quite get the speed that she would necessarily have liked and needed just to finish the dive a little bit higher.
Yeah, it looks like she kind of gets in the tuck shape, but doesn't squeeze the tuck shape tight enough just to pick up that somersault speed a touch more.
Now Holly, our silver medalist on the 1 meter springboard. Not the opening dive that she would have necessarily wanted. Hopefully she can follow up this forward 3.5.
Yeah, much better from Holly there. She'll be more happy with that one. It's a great start. And that's what I'm talking about, that squeeze through the touch shape. The dive just accelerated in terms of somersault speed. And by the time she was ready to release, she had time to see the water and extend forward for it. Good dive from Holly.
Yeah, the 14.5 pike on the 1 metre is probably Holly's best dive. I wonder if she's anywhere close to using the forward 3.5 pike on 3 metre.
Yeah, it's amazing how much of a step up it is from that tuck shape to the pike shape. It's a real change in technique. Wow, great from Grace, really good.
Yeah, Grace looks to be on form this morning. 2 very good opening dives.
Grace is a really accurate diver. She has great awareness of where the water is on her dives. Even if she doesn't quite get the right takeoff, she can more often than not find her hands on the water, which is such a great skill to have.
A very good competitor as well, I think.
Yeah,
when it
definitely
gets hot, she likes it. She likes the battle.
She thrives off the pressure, for sure.
Now Deshawn, a bit lower down on the degree of difficulty in the first dive, as we mentioned, but the rest of her list is as she usually would do.
Yeah, just a touch short on that full out there. Looks a little bit stuck from the start, so maybe that's just the lack of training that she's had over the last few months due to the injury, but you know, by the fact that she's doing dives, she's getting the experience. She's still a very young diver. Plenty of time to you know, figure it out.
Yeah, very promising. Well, I say promising, like she's really young. She's already done multiple international events.
Wow,
That's
great
much
height.
more like it from Maya.
Yeah, went sky high on that takeoff. Really strong kick. I love the sequence on the come out. Just missed the end of touch.
Yeah, if you ever watch divers train in the dry land, lots of drills that you may see. You may also have just seen someone behind the board doing little practice drills where you go through the positions that the body is likely to get into in the dive. So Maya coming out of her tuck shape into those perfect drill positions.
Yeah, sometimes I actually find it more interesting to watch the divers behind the board and between dives and what they're doing, what they're looking at, whether they're just sitting and talking to their coach, listening to music. See some people reading the book, some people just sit and stare into space. But that's what gets them through the competition. Ooh, unlucky there from Catherine. That was a really strong start. I thought she was going to get her hands on that, but just looked like she lacked a little bit of confidence on the end.
Yeah, doubted herself a little bit. Yeah, this is the most recent addition to her list. She did this tuck for a number of years now. Added the pike shape on the dive, and like you said, I thought that she looked like she made it pretty well. She just doubted herself a little bit on the end. She needed to snap those hips out.
Yeah, she's been working really hard on the technique on the takeoff, and it's definitely starting to show its fruit because she had time. She just didn't know what to do with the time. I don't think she's used to having that kind of time.
Similarly for Amelia, makes that dive really, really easily. Just tucks her chin in a little bit on the entry. Need to keep her head up, look for that water, and get a bit of a better entry through the water. So unfortunately only see the 4s there. Now a teammate following up with exactly the same dive. Started off with a bit of an easier one on the inward 2.5 tuck. Oh, was it back 2.5 tuck? My memory served, mate.
Oh, good work, good work, good work. She stepped back on that hurdle. I was feeling a little bit nervous in my seat here, but she managed to get into that really tight pike shape, and most importantly, she got the technique on the start where her hips came over her head, so the dive picked up in somersault speed, and she just about had enough time to get her hands on the end. Good work.
Really good awareness there from Nina. Snuck that entry in.
I know you haven't been diving for a while, but you know that feeling when you step back and you're just like, oh.
Yeah, yeah, horrible feeling. Oh, very nice from Tilly. Great recovery from the little toe clip in the first round.
Yeah, really strong on that takeoff there. Plenty of time to look at the water, stretch for it, and hold a really good line all the way through. Yeah,
really like that dive there from Tilly. Yeah, the hurdle steps were the bane of my diving career, I think.
As they are for most springboard divers, to be fair.
I think I said to Jack yesterday, I remember you saying once that one of the first things you learn and probably one of the last things you'll ever master.
Yeah. Yeah, that is absolutely true. I don't think you'll ever master it, to be honest. It'll always be a little bit different.
Especially the hop hurdles.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
just so much going on.
Yeah, the board's got a mind of itself, unfortunately. A tough dive, that one there from Ellen. Not a bad start. And she's been working on trying to come out really confidently through a pike out, and she tried that, but the start wasn't quite good enough for where she piked out, and unfortunately just dropped a touch short there.
Now Amy, her biggest dive, 3.1 degree of difficulty on this one. Back on the board, but so strong.
Yeah, watching Amy there, I didn't feel as nervous that time because I know her power, and I don't think a step back will affect her as much. So she did a great job of finding her hands there. Maybe a touch over, but yeah, could have been a lot more challenging from that position.
Yeah, she's one of the divers that could potentially be doing the double out, like you mentioned, hoping to see from some of these girls in the future. Very strong.
Yeah, from Amy, I want to see double out, I want to see reverse 3.5, I want to see Emma 3.5, I want to see all of them. I want to see all of them.
No pressure, Amy. Now Scarlett makes this dive.
Oh, Scarlett
ease.
as well. Let's see that extra twist, Scarlett, please. That was too easy.
That was like a
Wonderful
required dive
yeah,
there from Scarlett.
absolutely. Far too easy. That was great. Really great dive. Really great dive. That's exactly what you want. Great placement on the hurdle. Great direction. Just so high in the air. Literally just looked like she was flowing.
66 points on that one, but I dare to say that was probably my favourite one of those dives that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I think that could have gone a little bit more. Maybe in the final that will get a few half marks or maybe even full marks extra from a judge.
A couple of 8s in there, but not to count. Of course, top 2 and bottom 2 scores do get taken off.
Good job there from Libby after a difficult last round. And again, this is a dive that she's recently brought back into her list and one that she's not found easy, but that was a good, much better start to what I normally see. Good balance over the boards and almost got her hands out on the end.
Yeah, you mentioned her teammate trying to go through the pike out. Libby opts just to go straight from the tuck shape to the straight line, call it a punch out often. So divers can basically choose whichever their preference is. The pike out almost shows off a little bit more.
Yeah, the pike out just shows that you've got a little bit more time, a little bit more control, and a little bit of flair. You know, diving's all about the aesthetics, all about how it looks. And if you can show off that little bit more, but do it right, then the judges might go with you.
Oh, big
great
dive there from Claire.
Yeah, huge. She was leaning over the end of the board a little bit too much. So again, I was a little bit worried that she'd roll over, but great awareness, great awareness.
Yeah, miles up in the air. Great rip entry there. 7s to count from the judges.
Her face looked like she was a little bit unsure of how she did that there.
Yeah.
She was a little bit surprised herself.
Now, Amelie. 2 very steady dives in the first 2 rounds. Consistency is so important, especially in this event. There's not much variation in the degree of difficulty like we necessarily see in the male event. So if you do drop a dive, it's very hard to claw some points back.
Yeah, I feel women's diving is, you know, all diving is all about execution, but even more so in the women's diving because, as you say, the less variability in degree of difficulty. So we really want to try and execute each dive as well as possible and just eke out those extra marks from the judges as much as you can with form, quality, entries.
Yeah, still only Group B as well, Amelie, so...
Well, she's Group B.
Yeah, very young.
Fair enough.
Great
Wow.
to be just here competing at the Senior Nationals.
Absolutely. I did not know she was Group B. Impressive.
Now Evie Smiths, another junior. Came second in this event at the Junior Elites earlier in the year. Behind her teammate Tilly Brown, who we also see in the event. She's using the M2 somersaults pike, so great to see that she's got the harder option of the inward direction.
Yeah, a little bit more work to do on that dive just to get that takeoff going up and over a little bit more. But as you say, it's all about trying to do the right thing, land it upright, and just get a solid dive down in this prelim. And then hope for a bit more energy, a bit more power later on in the final.
Now our current leader, Yasmin Harper. Forward 3.5 somersaults piked.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah.
Just a little bit edgy on that hurdle, I thought.
Yeah, slightly over from vertical there from Yasmin, but for this morning's prelim, no dramas, plenty of room to improve for the final that we will surely see her in later on. Amelia's twisting option, first dive, first time we've seen this dive, should I say. About 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twist.
Yeah, this is the dive that you normally expect the divers to use on the 1 meter springboard rather than 3 meter, but maybe she's not quite ready to either add an extra twist or have an extra twisting optional yet, but it's a solid effort from Amelia.
Yeah, important with those slightly lower degree of difficulty dives that the execution marks are high, so 6s there for Amelia. Good scores to get some points on the board. A more common twisting option here from Holly. 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist. Oh, shame.
Such a shame, such a shame. That was a great takeoff. Really lovely form as well throughout the dive, and just missed the spot on the entry.
Yeah, I liked a lot about that. I mentioned in the last round that maybe adding a pike position on the front, the action there on the takeoff, really, really nice. She makes that so easily.
This is an important dive for Grace to reverse 2.5 somersaults piked. Yeah, decent job. Again, decent job for a prelim. Just watching these, a little bit of a stamp on the board, touch out of time, but she did a good job of working it all the way around through and going through the right sequence on the come out, not panicking.
Yeah, I like that from Grace. Sometimes you can see some of the girls bring their knees out of the board a little bit bent, but Grace been doing some really good work there. Straight legs out of the board into a pike shape, which was great to see.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes on those dives. You want to rush, you want to get into it, but actually being patient is the most important thing. And in diving, it's actually very difficult to be patient.
Back 2.5 somersaults pike from there from Deshawn. I liked a lot again about that. Slightly over from vertical, so we're not going to see huge scores, but really good action. She makes that dive so easily.
Yeah, super, super powerful. Really fast in the somersault speed. Decent awareness. Just a little bit over on the entry. Overall, good dive. Now, moving on to Maya with her inward 2.5 somersaults piked. And this one's quite an important one for Maya. Now, as I said, what Libby did earlier on her back 2.5, where she moved her feet quite far forward, I actually noticed that Maya moved her feet a little bit backwards on the inward 2.5 pike there, which makes me a little bit nervous because then you have less of your foot on the board and maybe can't quite get the same strength out of it. I'd like to see her keep her feet as still as possible, push down into the board rather than too far backwards, but not bad, not bad.
Yeah, going to put her in and around that 12th position. 5 divers are going to miss out on this afternoon's final, so there's going to be a bit of a battle around that final spot. Now Catherine, forward 3.5 somersaults piked.
Oh, great job from Catherine. Catherine is all about board timing. Her board timing is one of the best I've ever seen in the world. She once did 99 perfectly timed board bounces one time in training back in the day in these. Like, when I say perfectly timed, I mean perfectly timed. And she got a perfectly timed hurdle, which she needed on that front 3.5 pike. And she did a great job of finding the end.
Amelia, a little bit of a drop in the last round, so reverse 2.5 pike here to hopefully recover that. Oh, wow, what a start.
Just for context, by the way, I think I managed 9 perfectly timed ball bounces at the time. That wasn't very good.
9, that's good. I think it'd be more than me.
Yeah, what a start there from Amelia. That was incredibly high.
Just really showing off that straight line as you leave the board. You like to see a bit of an exaggerated extension, which Amelia does there. Just over rotates a little bit, missing the entries slightly. We saw her dive so well on the 1 meter. Not quite the same level just yet on the 3 meter, but looking like she's still going to have plenty on the board for the final. Nina started off very consistently in her first 2 rounds. Inward and forward spinning dives. This one is spinning backwards, just unfortunately drops those feet out a little bit too early, and dive just died on her a little bit.
Yeah, it's a shame. I didn't think the start was too bad. She just placed her feet in the wrong spot, unfortunately. And yeah, when you do that, you're running out of time very quickly. There's not really much you can do, and unfortunately, the water's going to give you a little slap on the shoulders. But because her first 2 rounds were pretty solid, she's still got a reasonable buffer, and she can bring it back in the last 2 rounds.
So, great last round dive from Tilly. First round dive probably wasn't where she wanted it to. That's maybe somewhere in between.
Yeah, just about. Again, not quite as strong on that takeoff, and just falling away on the end, not quite with enough time to finish off the dive strongly. Still sitting in a reasonable position within the top 12, so just hoping she can maintain a bit of consistency to make it through to the final, but it's definitely getting tight down there.
Oh, that's a shame, because I really like that takeoff. You mentioned about patience earlier. It's sometimes hard when you're doing all these rotations. You want to rush and go as fast as you can to get the spin speed started, but if you do that, you end up cutting off your height.
Yeah, and you change your body shape, you change your head position, and that's very important when you're in the somersault, because you want to replicate that awareness as much as possible. And if something is even like half a degree off, it changes everything else and makes it come out a lot more difficult. Oh, tough toes over there from Amy, all 10 toes hanging over there. But great job of staying patient, waiting for the board to lift her. Unfortunately, she's ended up a touch short, but...
Yeah, you can also, I think I mentioned previously, when you are panicking a little bit on that takeoff, you can have a little bit of an overcorrection in the dive. She still remains confident on that kick, which is good. Hopefully later on, if she gets a little bit better takeoff, then kicking out in that place will be perfect for her. So our rankings after the first 3 rounds, there you can see on the screen. Grace Reed in top position, Scarlett closely behind, and Yasmin in 3rd place there too.
So we've got a few clusters in these results at the moment. We kind of got the top 4 and then the middle 5 or 6. And then from 11 down to, say, 15, it's going to be quite a scrap going to the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, plenty to play for with 2 dives left. Nina currently occupying that last qualification spot. Well, as you just mentioned, very close. Holly Mae Presanto just behind her. Amelia and Maya still well within a chance of getting through to the final. Ellen and Libby just a bit further behind, so they've got a little bit of work to do if they are to make it through to this afternoon's final. But we've already alluded to the fact that they've done about 1 million events this weekend.
Oh, yes, Scarlett. Wonderful.
Wow.
What a great end.
She showed me a video of one of the back-to-analysis she did in training the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And it was absolutely beautiful. I said, I look forward to seeing that on Sunday. She said, oh, don't jinx me. But there you go.
Didn't jinx her. Was it better than that? Was it worse?
I think that was better.
That was better?
That was... Okay. I really like that one.
Lovely. Double twister there from Libby. Trying to work it back slowly from her mistake in the 2nd round, but just missing the entry there a little bit. She just needs a little bit more of a powerful, strong, upright start just to give her a bit more time to drop and find the entry on the end.
Yeah, 2.5 degree of difficulty there from Libby, so execution marks are ever more important. Now Claire Cryan sits in 4th place after the 3rd round. Reverse 2.5 somersaults tuck here.
Another diver with their toes over the end of the boards, making it difficult for herself there, and just struggling on the end. I thought she actually had enough height on the takeoff to make it round, but maybe the somersault speed for her was just a little bit down.
Yeah, Claire's definitely a diver that is more aware on the forward spinning dives, forward and inward, back and reverse, can be really, really good.
Yeah.
Her entries are amazing, but her awareness isn't quite as good as it is on those forward spinning dives.
That's it. You know, some divers have strengths and weaknesses. As I say, you don't want to put too much focus on one side or the other, but you know, you do have to trust in your strengths and just try and minimize the weaknesses as much as possible, minimize those mistakes and allow the strengths to kind of carry you through. And that's what Claire is doing so far.
That's the first little mistake that we've seen Amelie make. Really consistent for the first 3 rounds, just over-rotating there, slightly on the forward 3.5.
Yeah, that one was unfortunate. It looked like her start was quite good there, actually. Maybe a little bit better than she was anticipating. Maybe that's that little bit of adrenaline coming through, that little bit of extra energy that you get from competition. And yeah, unfortunately, just came out of touch too late and dropped it slightly over. But still, put herself in a really good place in those first 3 rounds, so she can trust in her last dive to get her through to that final. Move on to Evie. With the reverse 2.5 tuck.
Great rip entry.
Yeah, she kind of pushed herself a little bit forward, and I'm not sure if this is a mistake from one of the judges or if they've actually picked up on what I saw, which was a little bit of a leg bend, a little bit of a leg crimp as she kicked out and she worked round for the end. Maybe that's what judge number 4 was picking up on there. And I thought I saw a similar thing, but the rest of the judges maybe got a bit carried away and saw the entry and didn't mind it so much.
Do really like Evie's hurdle step. Very high, straight line into the end of the board, which gives you a good chance of getting all the height you possibly can. Now Yasmin, same diving pike position. Oh, seen that a few times. Some great takeoffs from the girls this morning, which sometimes in the morning's prelims you kind of see opposite. You will see
exactly.
a little bit when the body's not quite moving as you would necessarily want it to. You're a little bit stiffer, but
yeah, and then you have to fight on the end, which is what she did there. But she had an amazing start. She didn't need to fight that much. She just needed to relax through the water a little bit more. But well, I mean, speaking about a straight hurdle from Evie, that was a great example of that as well. Quality.
Yeah, we're still very likely to see Yasmin through to the final, so she's given herself lots of scope for higher scores later on. Amelia, she's a diver that's in and around those last spots.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad there from Amelia on the takeoff, just a little bit loose through the come out, so dropped a touch short. You can see Tony saying it there, you got to kick and look at your toes first, then look back for the water, not just throw your head straight back, because then your heels drop, you lose tension. You kick and look at your toes, you hold the tension, maintain a little bit of momentum. That'll carry you through nicely to your hands. Let's see if we can get a comparison here from Holly in terms of the come out sequence. There you go. Back spot
Really
on.
good kick.
Literally spot on.
Really good
She
kick.
kicked. If you're on YouTube, have a little rewind, have a watch again for if you want to pick up some technique, tips for technique. Kick, look at your toes, hold, then look back for the water, and then you'll get your hands, and you'll get much better scores.
Yeah, you can almost see Holly have a little pause with her hands on her legs, looking where she is before she looks back and lines up. So that's going to do Holly no harm there. She was in 13th after the last round, but good dive there. Is more than likely going to bump her up the places a little bit to those top 12 positions.
And thanks, Holly, for just, being a great example. Right on time.
Grace, again, continuing her good routine this morning.
Yeah, just showing her experience, her veteran status. I'm pushing my luck here, aren't I? Solid dive there from Grace, really good.
Yeah, very nice dive again from Grace. 4 out of 4 for her so far this morning, and still more left in that as well for her for the final.
Absolutely. Here we go with Deshawn now. She's been working with Jane Figueiredo as her coach, so getting some real experience there from Jane, and you can see what is trying to be done. That was a really strong, confident takeoff from not so great a hurdle, and just not quite transferring that into the come out of the dive just yet. But it's a process. You got to do one thing after another, and eventually it will all come together, and you'll figure it out. But got to build the right building blocks, and a good building block to start with is the takeoff.
Yeah, Maya is another one that's in and around that 12th spot, in 15th after the last round, but that's a great forward 3.5 somersaults took from her. It's been a little bit up and down. One dive, not so good, one dive good, one dive not so good, and then another good dive there from Maya. So
yeah, which one we're going to get in the
hopefully
last
we'll
round?
get the good one in the last round from her, give her an opportunity to get into those top 12 places.
Here we go to Catherine now. I don't want to jinx it, but this is one of her stronger dives. You know, the reverse somersault, 2.5 somersaults, back in reverse skills, ones that she's generally a little bit more comfortable with. So as long as she gets a decent hurdle, she'll put herself in a good position. But again, it's all about maintaining that process on the takeoff first of all.
Oh, very nice there from Catherine. Didn't jinx it.
Didn't jinx it. I'm happy about that. Can breathe now.
Yeah.
I think she needs to take a breath as well, because she looked a little bit nervous on the hurdle. I thought she had a little bit of a wobbly knee
so did
on
I.
that takeoff, so she did a great job of staying patient, and that just shows the awareness that she has on that dive. She knows where to come out. She knows where to put her hands for a good entry.
Yeah, a dive that she's more than capable of getting 8s plus on as well. So great example of that this morning. 7s from the judges in the prelim. That's more like it from Amelia.
Really good dive there from Amelia. Great takeoff, super easy. No stress or worry or fuss at all with that dive, and good hands on the end.
Yeah,
that could
Judge
maybe
3
have an extra
liked
twist.
it. 8.5 there. Doesn't count, but good scores. 66 points on that full out there from Amelia.
Moved on to her teammate Nina. Reverse 2.5 somersaults with pike in and around that 12th spot at the moment. So hoping for a good dive.
Oh, very good patient takeoff.
Yeah, she's got a good dive. Just lost a line of touch on the end. It was a little bit stuck, but she had to just wait and place her feet right up to the roof.
Yeah, there's been some good dives from the divers in the 12th, 13th, around that sort of ranking in this round. So Nina was occupying that last spot. She's putting a good dive to not let anyone behind her potentially overtake her. Tilly in 11th after the last round, also putting a very good dive. So it's going to be a very interesting last round.
Yeah, going to be a tough one for those girls to hold the composure, but that's what all the training is for. Good job there from Tilly. Good sequence on the come out, good hands. Maybe a little bit slow, but it was super high, so she had so much time in the end. Here we go now with Ellen and her back 2.5 tuck. I really want to see the control on her takeoff. No swing. Control using her power.
Yep.
That's good. That's good. That was much more controlled than what we see sometimes from Ellen. Really good, strong kick, good hands. Should be happy with that.
Yeah, great through the water there from Ellen. Maybe get a little bit lower down with her hands on her knees in that tuck shape, just squeeze a little bit tighter. But really accurate on the finish there from Ellen. Now Amy with her twisting dive, full out again. The most common twisting dive that we see.
Yeah, good job there from Amy. Again, a little bit back on the hurdle. Looks like she's been having a few issues with the timing, with the rhythm on the hurdle. Maybe it's just the morning. Hopefully she'll be able to step up a little bit on that earlier and make the dives a little bit easier later on this afternoon.
Yeah, very easy. Just caught her chest a little bit on the water, so that little bit of splash thrown up is obviously going to affect the judges' scores. They did like the height that she got out the board, which is why we see the 6.5s.
Well, moving on to the final round already, so soon.
Yes, Scarlett. Really good performance from her so far this morning.
God, great job there.
Yeah,
great job.
Little bit of panic there.
Yeah.
Thought feet were over the end of the board, but
Yeah, we can call that a controlled panic.
yeah, you can see the little smile from her as well. Good save
Yeah, it's a sigh of relief I've ever seen one there.
321.55 in a prelim as well there from Scarlett. Really, really good score. That would have won the Nationals in the winter too, so that just gives a good example. I think Yasmin won it with a score of 318. Excellent prelim there from Scarlett.
Do we know what Scarlett's PB is? 'Cause I don't know.
I don't know actually. No, I feel like
too far off.
Yeah, it's going to be in and around that score.
Yeah.
Libby with a really good 4.2.5 to finish off her list.
Yeah, not the best list today from Libby, but as we said at the start, it's all about experience for these young ones, and Libby has had experience in abundance this week with all the events that she's done from 3 metre to 10 metre, and brought good energy throughout, so lots of work to do in training, but...
Yeah, it goes away with the gold, of course, in the women's 10 metre.
Absolutely.
In Crow. Claire finishes up with a nil 2.5 somersaults. Some very nice execution there from her. Spins really, really nice in that tuck shape. And then mentioned previously about the pike out. She goes to a pike position, has a look at the water, and then straightens out for a great rip entry there. Good finish from Claire.
Yeah, you can see the confidence in the awareness that she has on the front spinning dives. As you mentioned earlier, that was really strong, confident come out. Excellent stretch of the water, good hands. Good job from Claire, good list.
So we saw Amelia do this dive with 1.5 twists earlier. Now we're seeing Amelie doing it with 2.5 twists. 2.8 here.
Wow, what a quality twist.
Yeah,
that was really good twist.
Very nice. Good repike as well, squared the dive up very well.
No loss in form.
Nice thing about doing a backstanding twisting dive is you don't have to do another hurdle step. There's that. We've seen the few shaky hurdles this morning, as you see in every springboard event that you will ever watch.
Yeah, I'd much rather do a hurdle into a twister rather than doing a back twist on springboard, I'll tell you that.
I used to do that dive on 1 metre.
That's too hard for me, I was too tall.
It's hard to get good scores on, to be fair, though, because you obviously don't get the same height as you do on a hurdle dive.
Yeah, I think if I did that on 1 metre, my feet would come around and touch the water before I had time to repike because my legs are so long.
Evie with her last dive, the normal, well, not normal, the more normal twisting dive full out.
Yeah, just struggled a little bit there on the speed of the somersault, so just ended up dropping a little bit short, which might drag Evie down into that top 12 battle, actually. So
yeah, was in 10th, 46 points there, so she gives her competitors a little bit of an opportunity.
She'll be sitting and watching and hoping now, because at this point there's nothing more you can do. You've done everything that you can with your 5 dives.
Someone that will be definitely through to the final with her last dive, Yasmin Harper, in between half somersaults piked.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Real good power there from Yasmin. Pushed away from the board actually quite a lot, but yeah, spin speed great. Just needs to find that control, but I'm sure she'll zone into that later on in the afternoon.
Yeah, really making this dive a lot easier than she did when she learned it a few years ago. I don't think she'll mind me saying it was one of the dives that she found harder, but you can see the good work that she's been doing with her coach, Tom Owens, that dive is now easy for her, just over-rotating slightly. Oh, hello.
Wow.
Opportunity there for Amelia. 15th after the last round. Bit of work to do, but great finish.
Yeah, really strong finish. And
puts the pressure on.
Reverse sometimes a hard dive to finish on, but you can see the confidence that she has in that. Quality.
Tony looks happy.
Tony looked very happy with that. That's the come-out sequence he was looking for last time.
So same dive from Holly. Sometimes can be difficult following such a good dive previously to you. Puts a little bit more pressure on you potentially. She is in 13th place after the last round, so bit of work to do for her.
Holly's very much involved in that scrapping for the final. Great job. Clearly a favourite of hers as well.
Yeah, great kick out again, showing off that dish position. She gives herself a chance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great dive there to finish from Holly. So, again, she's just got to sit and wait and watch and See what the rest of the divers can do.
Good mental strength as well there from Holly. In with 2.5, probably one of her easier dives. Just dropped it in that first round, so to come back and recover over the next 4 is good work from her.
Oh, the power from Grace, even through that missed time, she still went super high. Just got a little bit stuck in the somersault speed and then dropped a touch short on the end. But she had already done the work that she needed to make it through to the final, so again, just like Yaz, I'm sure she'll zone in and focus on what she needs to focus on for later on in this afternoon.
Yeah, first 4 dives, very, very good. 44 points there. Not what she would be aiming for on that dive. But 293 points. Very respectable score for her in this morning's prelim. Now Deshawn finishing up with an in with 2.5 somersaults pike. Oh, nice. Very, very nice. So easy. Loads of time there. Pikes out, arms into a T, has a look at the water, and then great entry. That's why you see that 8, Judge 3 liking the fact that she's just shown off how easy that dive is for her.
Yeah, really good quality there from Deshawn. So far, so good on these final dives this round. Really good, confident diving. Let's see if we can see the same from Maya. Yeah, pretty solid. Pretty solid. Just a touch stuck. So she ran out of room a little bit on the end, so couldn't quite find the right line. A little bit down on the scores.
Yeah, was in 14th after the last round, I believe. So be interesting to see how the rest of the divers get on, to see if she has a chance of making it through to the final. Maybe relying on some drops from the divers to come.
Now moved on to Catherine. Again, finishing with her 2 strongest directions. Now she's got the back 2.5 pike. She doesn't normally start with her arms up in T, does she?
I think that's
that looks unusual. I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah, normally starts with her arms by her side.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, something a little bit different that she'll be trying with her coach, Adam, maybe to get her body position in a slightly different position for the takeoff.
Yeah, sometimes if you start with your arms by your side, you maybe don't get them all the way up to your ears. So that can be something that she might be trying to work on there, getting the arms up to her ears before she swings them round to get the pike shape.
I'll see if I can ask and report back later.
Nice.
Get some inside info.
Now, Amelia clawed back a bit of ground in the last round with a very nice full out.
Wow. Her pike shape's awesome.
Yeah, really just spins really well in a pike shape. Yesterday we were talking about James Heatley and the fact that he almost spins better in a pike shape than he does in a tuck shape.
It's because his legs are really short. It don't make a difference. Like, his pike shape and tuck shape are the same size. His legs are short.
Oh. I was trying to give him a compliment and he just absolutely destroyed her. So, James, at least you're training with him. So.
Oh dear. It's all right. It's on a daily basis. There is a compliment because he makes his pike spinning dives so much better, and then he makes the pike spinning dives really easy, so he gets more difficulty. And yeah, good for him. Good for him. I'm just jealous. I wish I had short legs. It makes it hard as a diver with long legs.
Nina was, I think, in 12th position after the last round, so that little bit of a drop there may mean that Holly just sneaks in to the final.
Just by a point or so, it's looking like potentially. Depends what happens with the last few divers here, starting with Tilly.
Tilly, one of those in those final spots, 11th.
She's just left it a little bit short of vertical as well. That was such a shame. It was a really good hurdle, good height. Just looked like she didn't go after it enough and just got a little bit too stuck.
Yeah, that's a shame. Similar dive to Nina, really, just slightly lower on the total score, 40 points. So she looks like she is going to miss out if our last diver, Amy, scores 25 points on the last dive, which I'm pretty confident that she will do. Ellen's last dive is reverse 2.5. Good accurate finish.
Yeah.
Get a little bit of a lead up there, slightly.
It looked a little bit slow coming out the board, but she was really patient and got into a reasonable shape. Still want to see that get into tuck shape a little bit faster, a little bit tighter from the start, so she has more time on the finish, and then she can get a really good rip entry, because she can rip. Just couldn't quite find the line there on the end, but not a bad list from Ellen. Like I said, for Libby, great experience this weekend, and she's shown some really good stuff.
Yeah, so our last diver of this morning's women's 3-meter prelim is Amy, back 2.5 somersaults pike.
And that'll see her safely into the final.
Yeah, very comfortably in 7th after the last round, and I think that's going to probably stay in around the similar spot. Yeah, 7th place for her, 55.5 points.
Yeah, good solid list from Amy. I'm sure she'll want more a little bit later in the final, but as we said, just brushing off those cobwebs and she'll wake up for later. And I think we've got a really exciting final ahead of us. As I mentioned, you know, we've kind of got the top 8 are all contenders. I'm not sure if Deshawn will bring back forward 3.5 pike for the final, just to get her back up to the same level of degree of difficulty as the other girls. But, you know, that top 8 is looking very, very exciting and very competitive.
Yeah, great competition there from the girls. We will have confirmation of the results on the screen for you shortly when we are given them, but I can tell you that Scarlett will be going through as our top ranking qualifier from this morning's prelim. Really, really good score there, 321 points.
Yeah, top by a distance as well.
Yeah, obviously we've had the girls out in Xi'an and Canada for the events. The World Cup event, should I say.
Cup, yeah, that's right.
I think Grace's top rank was 4th in Xi'an, 300.2, so that just represents how good that score is there from Scarlett.
Absolutely, it shows the quality of British diving, you know. If you're diving well here at Nationals, it means you're right up there in the whole world.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
it's almost harder to qualify than it is to go over to the events and maybe make the final, so
yeah,
great.
Exactly.
Great to see such strength in depth on all our events. The women's 3-meter, again, following on from what we've said in previous days, the men's 3-meter, the women's 10-meter yesterday, and then similarly, we're going to see the men's 10-meter, which is another event that's hotly competed. There's a number of divers that could potentially take that title.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, that's for sure, but
yeah, we've said that you hit the score and come first in the Olympic events, you will automatically qualify your spot for the World Championships. Second spot will be down to the selection committee's discretion, so anyone that they deem to potentially be able to challenge for medals internationally, or the final spots that they can choose. So everything that the guys do this weekend is very important to put themselves in the forefront of their minds.
yeah, it's a different system to what is used at other, you know, international events in terms of countries. I know the Australian trials currently going ahead, Canadian trials, US trials happened just last week, and they're normally a little bit more firm in terms of top 2 at trials, qualify, simple, done. Whereas this, sometimes a little bit more open, but, you know, it's not always the worst thing, because a diver, one of your best divers, could potentially turn up and just have a bad nationals.
Yeah.
That can happen, and in America, for example, they'll miss out.
Yeah, it's cut and dry in those events. Oh, I don't know if you can see that on the videos, Robbie.
That's
Beautiful in the 3.5. Previous camera angle just that we had from the 10-meter just showed you where the guys will be diving from.
I hope he's saving a little bit for the competition. Don't want to use it all up in training.
Yeah, he's been really impressive, Robbie, in both the senior competitions and the junior competitions as well.
He's been diving really well. And here we go with the results.
Yeah, you can see confirmation on your screen of the results. The women's 3-meter prelim. As we've mentioned, Scarlett, top qualifier. A couple of guests in there, Amelia and Claire taking 3rd and 4th overall in the competition.
Claire, of course, Augusta. She represents Ireland.
Yeah, she's actually in her home pool. She trains here in Sheffield. And on to the second lot of results. You can see down to Nina will make it through to the final. Tilly just missing out by 5.75 points, so real shame for her. Maya as well, not far behind. Amelia with a really good last dive to finish on, so although she won't make it through to the final, some good stuff for her to take away from the competition. Then Ellen and Libby will bring up the last of the rankings. So that concludes the women's 3-meter prelim. We'll take a very short break and we'll be back with the men's 10-meter platform prelim, a very exciting event, probably the staple event of the weekend. So hopefully return back very shortly and we will see you soon.
Feeling that cost of living crunch? Labara are here to help.
All I want is great customer service and network, but for less.
That's why Labara gives you 15 gigabytes of 5G data and unlimited UK minutes and text for just £10 a month. Plus, no contract, change or cancel anytime.
An excellent customer service.
So what's stopping you joining the bill-busting revolution? Labara. More for less.
Hello and welcome back to our second event of the last day of the British Diving Championships of 2023. Here with me, Jack Haslam and Yona Night Wisdom to take you through the men's 10-metre platform event. We've got 14 divers in this event, 4 guests, 12 go through to the final, so it's going to be harsh on 2 people. Yesterday we saw the women's platform event with 13 people, so just 1 missed out there as well. So it is going to be a tough competition. We've been watching the training, last preparations before the competition. Some really good dives, Yona.
Yeah, some quality dives, also some really bad dives as well, to be quite frank. But yeah, there's been some quality dives, so I think we're in for a great event here from the boys, for sure.
Few familiar names in our start list, of course. I have Noah Williams, who's no stranger to this event. He is the reigning national champion. Scored 482 points in this event up in Edinburgh earlier on in the year. Kyle Cathari came second and Robbie Lee came third, so they were the medals back in the winter. Matty Lee, of course, a huge name in the diving world, did not compete in that competition due to an injury. He's back, raring to go on the 10-metre, hoping to get his individual qualification for the competitions upcoming later on in the season. We've mentioned quite a few times this weekend already. We have the World Championships and European Games as 2 of the major events that we will see later on in the year. For the juniors as well, we've also got the Junior European Championships coming.
Yeah, and for the majority of these boys, actually, it's going to be their first time competing this weekend. Of course, we had Matt Dixon on the Springboard. A few of the divers involved in the synchro events, the Greek divers were involved in the synchro events, but the rest of them, they actually didn't do the synchro event just to put more focus, more energy into this individual competition. So they'll all be fresh, they'll all be ready to fire, and hopefully we'll be seeing some top quality diving from all of them.
Yeah, it's fair to say that Noah and Matty chose not to do the synchro event. They've obviously done synchro throughout the year at the World Cup events, got some really, really good results, come away with a couple of medals, so great for them to do that. They have, well, the synchro events are ultimately down to the performance director and the rest of the selection committee's discretion, so they've chosen to let the results speak for themselves in those competitions and focus on this individual competition today.
Yeah, of course, it's not been as busy a schedule as normal as well. There's only been 2 international events so far this year.
Yeah, without the World Series circuit.
Exactly. Normally they have 4 competitions plus the Winter Nationals before this Summer Nationals, so there might be more opportunities to compete. They will have gone up and down in terms of load, whereas actually they've probably been in training blocks a little bit more frequently so far this season, so not sure how that will actually affect the divers, because they might be doing more reps on 10 metre than they might be used to. Could result in more injuries potentially, or it might actually go the other way and they'll be a bit more zoned in, locked into the quality, and it will result in better performances here. So that's definitely an interesting aspect to consider for these guys. Obviously with the 10 metre platform, the intensity of it and the impact of the water and all that causes is tough.
Yeah, we'll see a variety of dives again this morning from the boys. 6 dives, 5 dives we saw yesterday from the girls, so the boys have an extra one.
Yeah.
Don't have the choice of a 6 optional that they can choose from any direction on the platform. They have to do a dive in the forward, back, reverse, inward, twist and arm stand up on the platform, so the list is a little bit more set.
Absolutely, and we've just had Leon Taylor come up to us, the Olympic silver medalist from Athens, also a BBC commentator who is normally on the major events, the World Championships and the Olympic Games, so maybe he's a little bit worried that we're coming for his job.
just sitting next to us now to just put a bit more pressure on
exactly.
us.
I can feel the heat. I'm nervous now. I got to get some captions and some quotes to match what Leon normally says.
Hanging 10's a Springboard one, isn't it? So
exactly.
not one for the platform.
Exactly, but Leon's obviously an expert in this event, so maybe he'll offer us a few words of advice whilst we're going on.
Yeah, like I mentioned, we've got 4 guests in this competition from Italy, Greece. We've seen them both in the synchro events too, so they've got their competition nerves out the way slightly. Bit of a different case for some of our other divers. It's quite a difficult thing to have to wait for the whole weekend until the last event of the competition and then pretty much watch everyone finish, and then you've not even started yet.
Well, it's tough, and actually the platform divers are normally quite used to this because their events are normally right at the end of the weekend of competition, so especially experienced ones, they'll know how to navigate the week and to watch the other divers or to not get too involved in it. They'll know what they need to do to get themselves into a good place for the platform event, which is normally on the last day. My one experience of having my event on the last day was a pretty rough one. It was at the World Cup in 2021, the qualification for the Olympics. First competition back in like 14 months after the pandemic, and they decided to just switch the order of the competitions around and put the 3-meter springboard event on like the second last day and then the final on the last day. And for me, that was horrible. I hated it. Fortunately, I competed well and I made it through all the way to the final, but it was so tough watching everyone compete, finish, the adulation, the disappointment from those that qualified or didn't qualify for the games, and just the whole time I was watching thinking, which side am I going to be on? Am I going to be on the happy side? Am I going to be on the sad side? Like, what way is it going to go for me? But as I say, fortunately it went well, but it is a tough thing for these athletes to deal with. So opportunities like this for the younger ones is going to be great experience as they learn how to navigate these kind of events.
Have you got any one that you're looking out for in particular in this event, Yona? Obviously, we mentioned previously the strength in depth over British diving as a whole has just increased tenfold. So there are, again, 5, 6, 7 divers who could all be in there with the medals and take the title. But who's your pick for this morning?
Well, I've just noticed that we're missing the name Jordan Fisher-Eames. I'm not sure why he is not here at the moment. I haven't particularly heard anything, so maybe he's struggling with an injury or something. Or he might even have exams. I don't know. But you know, he's a good young diver, so we'll be missing him and his quality from this event. But
yeah, I was very impressed with him in Edinburgh. Actually.
Yeah, and he did really well at a few of the meets, like the Junior World Championships, and that was last year. Yeah,
this season I think he took the Junior Elites title in Group B still.
Yeah.
He also, I think, represented Team GB out in the Dresden Youth International as well.
Right.
Coming fourth there. So he is, a man that we will miss in the competition, but I'm sure we'll see plenty of him in the future. Still very, very young. I could just mention Group B junior diver.
Absolutely. In this event, I'm looking forward to seeing what Robbie can do.
Yeah, another really exciting young man.
He's probably the one that doesn't train in London that could probably disrupt the London monopoly of this event, if you could put it that way. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what Robbie does. You know, he is a spectacular diver, and he's got that pizzazz with his entries and the finishes that he can do. You know, we saw one in training and he just disappears into the water. So yeah, excited to see what Robbie can do. Other than that, I'm looking forward to seeing Matty's progress as an individual diver. You know, obviously he's had great success in the synchro event, but individual's a different game, so he's been working hard on that. I'm looking forward to seeing how he's getting on. Kyle, again, a wizard with his hands on the water. It's incredible what he can do, so he'll provide some excitement. But yeah, I think the favourite would probably be Noah. If we're being honest with his experience and his quality, particularly at the World Cup in Montreal, he was fantastic. So yeah, I'll be teeing Noah up for the win.
Yes, take a short second to talk about Matthew Dixon.
Yeah.
Obviously being very well known for doing this event. He's won this event numerous times over the past few years. Now down on the 3 meter as well. Really impressive performance from him in the men's 3 meter final. How does it affect your training when you're doing both the springboard and the tower event?
Well, I can't speak from experience because I never did both. I got off the platform as soon as possible. But, you know, I've seen it with Dan Goodfellow, for example. He's one that came down from the platform to the springboard, and he tried to do both for a period of time, but eventually just had to focus on the springboard. particularly because of the technical aspect of Springboard, is very, very, very difficult, and Dan had a lot of work to do to get used to that, so he decided to put all of his focus into the Springboard events. It looks like for Matt Dixon, the Springboard comes a little bit more naturally to him. You know, what he's been doing has been awesome. He's done a lot of 1 metre in previous years at Nationals and at Scottish Nationals and other events like that. So he's got a lot of Springboard experience, and, you know, his performance on 3 metre was incredible in the final. So, yeah, it's going to be tough getting a balance for him, but I think eventually he'll probably start to lean more towards the Springboard. I think he's probably, in terms of body shape, a little bit more suited towards the Springboard now. He gets some incredible power, but, you know, he's still definitely right up there and in the mix for a platform. You know, we know what he can do. We know what he's done in the past, and he's got the degree of difficulty now to match the other boys, so let's see how he gets on in this prelim.
Yeah, you mentioned degree of difficulty. We're going to see a variety of difficult dives all the way up to 3.7, which will be the forward 4.5 somersaults in tuck position. So that's the big one that we'll see today. We'll see some other very difficult dives, of course, and a little bit of a range, some down in the 2.7s plus as well. So lots of variety of dives in this morning's prelim. Our judges are in position. The boys are ready up on the platform. We'll have a start list for you on the screen very, very shortly.
Let's just get a quick word from Leon as well. What are you looking forward to in this event?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see who's on form this morning and who can translate it to this afternoon. Because as you know, you don't win the final in the morning, do you? But
Absolutely.
You've got to go through, show the judges where you're at, but then leave the capacity. So you don't want to use all your good dives in the morning, but you don't get to choose that sometimes, do you? So it's going to be interesting to see who's nervous, who's not, who's tired, who's alive. Big dives there, right? So there's lots of errors that can be made, so it's keeping that cool head.
Thank you very much, Leon.
Yeah, you mentioned that, well, Leon mentions that with Noah a couple of years ago. I think he got 500 in the prelim, and then amazing prelim dive, but his final results weren't quite up to the same standard. So it is interesting how you say that, you know, saving those dives for the final can really be a mental battle for you as well. Sometimes if you do an amazing dive in the prelim, you think, oh, maybe I've used that one up. Maybe I'm not going to do it as well in the final. It's very good to be able to hold your focus and think, you know what, there's no reason why I can't do it twice, and hopefully we'll see that this morning and this afternoon. So our divers are in place. Just seen the start list there on your screen. First diver is one of our first guests from Italy, Francesco Casalini. He's kicking off his list with a back 2.5 somersaults with 1.5 twists. I'm just having a slight problem there with getting the correct information on your screen.
Yeah,
Amy's going again.
Definitely not Amy Rollinson up on the time, that's for sure.
So yeah, we'll see quite a range of dives in this first round. We'll see back twisting dives, arm stand dives, inward dives, forward dives, reverse dives. So nearly all the directions. It's quite common, as we saw on the 3-meter springboard previously from the girls, that divers tend to start with a dive that they're comfortable with, one that they can get into the competition with no dramas. The nerves are probably the highest in the first round. Then you can settle into the competition and potentially put some of your harder dives later on. Is that something that you do, Yona?
Yeah, it's a tough one with the platform because all the dives are really difficult. So actually, it's not uncommon to see a really difficult dive in the opening round, as we're seeing from, you know, most of the London boys, Matty, Ben, Noah, all opening with a 3.6. I prefer to start with a very, very comfortable dive. I start quite easy, and I actually quite like to build through my list. Since my injury, I've kind of switched it around a little bit, and I now finish on a really comfortable dive. But yeah, it's all about the balance, and it's all about what you like. So they'll use these competitions for experience, and they can make tweaks going forward.
Very nice first dive there from Francesco. Back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, 3.2 degree of difficulty this one. Used to be 3.4.
Yeah,
when I used it years ago, it was 3.4, which is very, very nice.
You had the benefit of the extra DD. And this used to be a 3.8, the 2.5 twist, so you get to see a direct comparison of the different options available. Here, Matty will add an extra twist to the same dive.
Yeah, you've just heard Leon Taylor previously. This was the dive that he invented, first person to do this dive in the world.
And now
beautiful
everyone,
start
now
from
everyone
Matty.
does it. Everyone does it. And it's almost a requirement to have in your list. You know, you have to have this kind of dive if you want to be competing at the highest level.
Yeah, to be able to compete against the top divers in the world, you need to be doing the higher degree of difficulty dives, as Matty Lee is doing there. 81 points, great start to the competition for him. Now Ben with his first dive, back arm stand. Double somersaults with 2.5 twists. Used to do this with 1.5 twists, now added that extra twist, so big jump up, 0.4 in the degree of difficulty.
Yeah, Ben's twisting technique is really proficient. He twists so fast. He's been working hard on maintaining his form, so have a close watch of his toes. He's been working hard on trying to keep his legs together throughout the entire twisted action. There you go, you could see the slight split, which is an issue that I struggle with as well. And, you know, it is tough, and it'll take a little bit away from what the judges give in terms of scores. So those 6s, that's probably reflected from the loss of form, but, you know, it's still a great dive. It's still a really good dive.
Yeah, when the divers are rotating around in those twists, the force is pulling your legs apart, so it is a real challenge to be able to keep your feet together, and then as soon as you re-pike, also keep them together and square that twist up.
But it's something that you were really good at. You never lost form in your twist, so what would you say?
Never, but...
Well, when it went right, you normally didn't lose your form.
Twist was one of my favourite directions.
What was the trick for you in terms of keeping your legs together, or could you just do it?
Squeeze as hard as you can. Brian with his first dive, inward 3.5 somersaults. Tuck, not quite getting all the way out to the straight line on his entry there, just staying slightly piked to the hips.
Yeah, just need a little bit more in his jump there, just to get the height and the turnover a little bit quicker. It was just dropping a bit too fast, so I couldn't quite get all the way out in the end.
Now Nikolaus with forward 3.5 somersaults piked. The majority of the dives in the forward direction we will see with a running takeoff on the 10 metre.
Really strong takeoff on the platform. You could almost hear the stamp on the platform, and trying to create as much energy from the push into the somersault speed, into the momentum, the rotation. It gave him a good amount of time on the bottom to find his hands and get a decent rip. Good start.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at the speed that people attack their running takeoffs in. It can vary quite significantly. Yesterday, the likes of Lois Tolson, she has quite a slow approach, but then some of the Edinburgh girls that really attack that end of the platform, it is down to the preference of the divers.
Absolutely, it's all about trying to create momentum, but then you want to transfer that momentum from a forward movement into an upward movement, and that's a challenge. So that's why you see the variance. Some divers want to approach it quickly, but some divers want to just focus on the jump. Solid start there from Ricardo.
Yeah, great start there from Ricardo.
68 points in his backward twisting dive. Reasonably high DD opener, and now moving on to Angus with his forward 3.5 somersaults with pike.
Yeah, second one that we'll see of this dive from Angus.
Just missing vertical there. Credit where credit's due. Angus is another one who can find some incredible hands. I think he did actually get a 10 a couple of years ago at Nationals on a reverse 2.5 tuck, or a junior Nationals, something like that. So he can definitely find his hands. Just missed the vertical line a touch and washed over slightly.
Yeah, quite tall for a platform diver as well, Angus, but that can sometimes help with those rip entries. You've got the long line to go through the water with very, very little splash. And another man that can go through the water with probably one of the smallest splashes in the entire world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is Kyle.
Hopefully we can see that here from the start. Really good controlled lift into the handstand position. Great line. Showing the judges that 3-second balance minimum. And there you go, great example of his hands.
Done a few varieties of the back arm stand, or well, the arm stand dives in the past. Kylie threw off a forward arm stand twisting dive last year without very much training at all.
Yeah.
Opting for a little bit of an easier option there with the 1.5 twist. Great execution marks there though, so perhaps that decision has paid off.
I missed the arm stand reverse from Jose Guerra. That was
Jose Guerra was one of my
just
favourite
amazing.
divers to watch.
Yeah.
Amazing rip entries, so much class and skill. Noah with his start back, 2.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists. Really, really good entry to the water. Just slightly over-rotating, which is why you say, I could say only 8s, but
yeah, well,
that's
for Noah,
what you've
only
come
8s,
to expect from
He actually
Noah.
He actually wants more than that, and another really proficient twister. He makes twisting look so easy.
Now you may hear the crowd there. City of Sheffield's only representative in this event, Archie Biggin. Fun fact for you, Yona, I was Archie's first ever coach.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So you taught him everything he knows?
Well, hopefully. No, and Ross is now coaching him as well, so staying in the family. But Archie's done some really, really good work at progressing the difficulty in his list on 10 metre. Also, interestingly, doing some really good stuff in the high diving events too. So.
Yeah, he's a high diver. Didn't he competed in the high diving event at the Junior World Championships,
Yeah,
right?
he did, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, out in Canada. So, great to see him doing both events too. Obviously,
Yeah.
the 10 metre can, it sounds crazy to us, be used as a lead-up event, but
Well, that's it.
10 metre can you be used as a lead-up event for the high divers.
We've seen that from Aidan Heslop over the years. You know, he competed at the 10 metre on the 10 metre platform at the Commonwealth Games in 2018 and in 2022, and did really well in both actually. And now he's absolutely smashing up the high diving world. So it could be the same process for Archie.
Matthew Dixon with a reverse 3.5, great takeoff, so easy.
Yeah, great start there. Really made that super easy. And you know, this is an unusual opener, reverse 3.5. But as I said, with all the difficulty that comes in the platform list, you know, sometimes you just have to open with a really awkward, difficult dive, get out of the way, and then you can move on to the other ones in the later rounds.
Now, this was the dive that we saw Robbie do in training, absolutely disappeared
Yeah.
on the water.
He absolutely did. See if you can bring it back again.
Really good again.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite as good as that one in training.
Training was definitely better.
Just slight over rotation, but again, we're saying we're really picking out at stuff. We're getting 8s there from the judges.
Exactly. And as Leon said, you know, you can't win it in the prelim, so just got to get it down, bring it back for the final.
Yeah, been really impressed with Robbie over the last couple of years. Doing some hard dives as well, got the front 4.5 in his list. Athanasios with a forward 3.5 somersaults piked.
Yeah, just left that a touch short on the end, but you know, super easy dive. Didn't make it look difficult at all. Really good hands, good entry, even though he landed a touch short. So it's a good, strong opener from Athanasios.
Now Romano, the last of our divers in this first round. He's doing back arm stand double somersault with 1.5 twist. Formerly of Crystal Palace. Real shame that I believe that pool has now closed down, so.
Yeah, big shame. There's a lot of good divers that came from Crystal Palace. Really good program in there from a young age. You know, we have Noah in this event. I can't remember if there's any more, but yeah, a lot of good divers that have come from Crystal Palace.
Quite an iconic pool as well, so.
I think I only dived there once, and I mean,
Did we have some training camps when we were really young?
I never got invited to the training camps. It's all right. I'm over it.
They regret it now, mate.
No, not so much with the quality of the boys on
Well.
3 metre. Oh, yeah, I'm actually quite grateful I'm not British because it's too competitive. Wow, it's a lot.
So on to the second round. Francesco, his back spinning dive. First of the back dives we've seen so far. He opts for the 3.5 somersaults in the tuck position. We'll also see this in the pike position later on in the competition.
Oh, I thought that looked a little bit stuck on the takeoff. He didn't really spin that quick, but he was really patient. He held on, knew what he was doing, placed his feet up towards the 10 metre, and managed to find a reasonable line in the end without quite reaching back enough for a good rip.
Yeah, intelligent diving from him, though. Like you said,
Absolutely.
it was a little bit slow, but kicked his feet in the right place.
Now, this is obviously a group for Matty that he hasn't had to do much over the last few years because obviously in the synchro event you don't see the synchro arm stand too frequently. So this is a dive that he's been doing for a long time. And one of the areas that he's maybe slightly behind the other boys in, because he doesn't have the arm stand triple pike or 2.5 twister, but he can aim for a good execution on this dive to keep him in touch. And see there, that's just a little slip, and with the slightly lower degree of difficulty, that'll be a bit more hurtful for Matty's overall list, with the 5.5 there only results in 59 points for Matty. So, I'm sure that's an area that's under consideration for him, and how he can either improve the difficulty or just improve the execution on that particular dive. But he'll be working on that every single day.
Yeah, you mentioned him not having to do that in the synchro. I remember the Galashan
Yeah,
twins
of
doing
course.
arm stand in synchro, which obviously adds an extra complexity to the synchro event, so you don't often see that at all.
No, so impressive when you do see it though.
Then with a reverse 3.5 somersaults tuck.
Oh, so close. That was a great start from Ben. I really like that takeoff.
Good kick out as well. I thought it was perfectly timed on the come out. Just needed to squeeze those arms back slightly more to get even higher scores, but Ben's another diver who's really impressed in his, as he says there, just left his shoulders in a little bit.
That's it though. Comes down to the fine margins, and that's a testament to the quality of the field. Those very, very small mistakes will have a big impact.
Yeah, Ben's really developed in his strength, and obviously now doing some of the harder dives up on the 10 meter 2.
Here we go with Bryn with his arm stand dive. Been watching Bryn train, and the arm stand's one that he struggles a little bit with, as you saw there. Didn't quite get up there to hold it, and the judges will deduct slightly for that.
Yeah, great entry there from Bryn. Just unfortunately, the judges will cap the scores. They look to see a controlled handstand.
I'd say you want to hold it for at least 2 to 3 seconds to show that control.
Yeah, there's said yesterday with Jack, there's not necessarily a time limit on the handstand hold. They just want to see control. Look like the divers ready to flick off into their somersault. Unfortunately there for Bryn, just gets those scores capped.
Oh, not bad.
Nicolaus with a back 2.5 somersaults pike. Very similar looking dive to the one we've just seen from Bryn.
Yeah, similar technique in terms of the somersault and the placement of the feet. He's just a little bit open in his pike shape. I'd like to see him squeeze a little bit more in that pike shape, and then he'll be able to press out with a touch more confidence and get a slightly better entry. It was a good entry, no doubt, but just a touch
did well
short.
to keep the water down for the angle that he hit the water at there.
Absolutely.
Now, quite an uncommon dive. We don't see this one very often. Reverse 2.5 somersaults in the pike position. We see it tuck.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Very nice. It's a hard one because you have to push it a little bit further away from the platform just to give yourself that little bit of extra room with your feet. That could make the somersault speed a little bit slower, but not an issue for Ricardo.
Yeah, great dive there from Ricardo. Like I said, a bit more of a rare dive. You often see that in the tuck position, but not very often in the pike position. So very good to see a little bit more variety, and especially when it's executed like that from Ricardo.
Yeah, well, sometimes it looks even better when it's done that well, right?
Absolutely. Now, Angus, someone you've also mentioned, is very well known for his good rip entries. Back twisting dive.
Oh, well done. This is a dive that he's been working really hard on in training and trying to improve the speed of his somersault. And he's getting there, giving himself time to find the water, and that's a really good score. He should be super happy with that.
Yeah, one of the challenges on that dive is when you've done your twist to then have the strength in your core, your abdominals to pull into that pike shape. That's how you get your rotation speeds.
Yeah, I didn't know how to do that. I got that dive very wrong when I tried the lead up, and never tried it again.
First time I ever did it, I did double twists and did double somersault, so it went very, very wrong.
Yeah, I think I did 2.5 twists and 1.5 somersault, so yeah, equally.
Yeah.
Not good. But you actually persevered and continued, right?
Yeah.
I did not. I nipped that in the bud real quick.
So Kyle, probably with the riskier dive in his list. Reverse 3.5 somersaults tuck.
Oh, good effort. Jumps so high on that. He just makes it so easy. The challenge for Kyle is actually controlling the come out and knowing where to come out and knowing where to find the water. And he did a decent job of it there. Just pulled it a touch over.
Yeah, normally when you watch Kyle's list, if he hits his back and reverse, you're pretty confident that we're going to see big scores. His forward spinning dives are really, really accurate. Much more aware on those. Like you said, he finishes so high, it's sometimes almost detrimental because he has to have the confidence to hold his line.
I've told him on multiple occasions just add an extra somersault and then you reduce that issue, isn't it? But he wasn't having that, so we move.
Noah could probably add an extra somersault on this as well. In with 3.5.
Well,
finishes about 6 meters.
Yeah, he's spoken about it, and he's actually said a number of times that he would like to try it, but it's just not quite found the right time. Obviously, with the Olympic cycles, there wasn't really the time to kind of experiment with dives like that. So just goes for a solid 72 points and in with 3.5 tuck. You know, can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, another good dive there from Noah. Now Archie, reverse 2.5 somersaults tuck. Not the first round dive he would have particularly liked. A newer dive in his list, the back twist in the last round. This one's one that he's a little bit more familiar with.
Oh.
That's a shame there from Archie. Just didn't quite get the rotation speed to fit where he kicked his feet.
Yeah, he almost... He set that up for a reverse 1.5, not a reverse 2.5, and you know when you're spinning that slowly, you have to be even more patient and kick your feet up towards the roof. But it's all about experience for Archie.
Yeah, this is his first senior nationals as well, so it's always difficult coming into this meet with people such as Matthew Dixon, very experienced.
Actually, to be fair, if he's trained to be a cliff diver, he's probably used to having a little bit more time, so that speed's
Yeah.
a little bit more accurate. That on 27 metre would be great for a reverse triple, so yeah, maybe he's thinking big picture. There's a big dive for Matt Dixon, back 2.5 with 2.5 twists, one that he's recently brought in to add to his degree of difficulty. Oh, great job. That's one of the best ones I've seen him do, actually. That was really good. Really, really sent it on that start.
Yeah, had to really work into that pike shape. A little bit bent legs, which is why you only see the 6.5s. The entry and the upright finish probably demanded more scores, but the judges are going to penalise that slight bend in his legs.
He's definitely improved that since the Winter Nationals, that's for sure, though. So good job to Matt and the work that he's done. So far, so good in this platform list, I think, even with the Springboard coming before so far this weekend.
Yeah, now Robbie, our bronze medalist, of course, from Nationals in Edinburgh. Back armstand double somersault, 1.5 twist. Splashing the water, he's not too happy with that one. Left it slightly short of vertical.
Yeah, just somersault speed just died on the end. Didn't quite get the strong flick that he needed in terms of the right direction. Just went a bit straight down and then didn't quite carry around all the way through to the end. So yeah, he'd be a bit frustrated with that one. But again, it's just about getting some solid dives down, getting a feel for the competition, and seeing what you can bring later on this afternoon.
I mentioned this dive not being so common. We're going to see it for the second time in this competition.
Not quite as good as Ricardo's, but actually still really well executed. His pike shape is also excellent. Really, really great pike shape from Athanasios. Final.
Now, Romano doing it in the more common tuck shape. 2.8 compared to the 3.0 in the pike shape though, so you do lose that slight bit of degree of difficulty.
Taking his time, really focusing on what he needs to do, and
yeah, I
clearly
sometimes
very
think
effective.
taking your time a little bit can maybe be detrimental. I don't know if the judges potentially think, oh, you don't look as confident, you're maybe getting your own head, but doesn't seem like it had a negative effect there on Romano whatsoever. Great scores, 8s to count from the judges. Really, really nice reverse 2.5 somersaults tuck.
Yeah, it depends on your strategy. I mean, I've found myself recently just taking a little bit more time on the board, a few deep breaths, not necessarily thinking about what I'm doing, but just trying to make sure that I'm calm so I can try and execute the right movements. And that's what it looked like Romano was doing there. You know, there wasn't too many hand movements. There wasn't a lot of shuffling and fidgeting. He was in control of all of his movements, and that resulted in a really good dive. So that for me is absolutely fine.
So Francesco kicking off the third round for us with a forward 3.5. Probably not the execution marks he would necessarily have wanted. Just left it slightly shorter vertical.
On to Matty and his in with 3.5 somersaults with tuck, and a little bit of work to do to stay up with the other boys. But again, it's the prelim, so he's just getting a feel for his dives. But knowing Matty, he always wants to dive well. He always wants to execute his dives, and that's what makes him an Olympic champion. He always wants to do everything well. So even the slightest slip will frustrate him, and well, he'll be a little bit happy with that dive, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's such a beautiful diver. Matty's form is probably up there with anyone in the world. Great leg line, toe point, and you can see that tuck shape there in with 3.5. Very, very nice.
Going dive for dive. Now with Ben following the exact same skill.
Yeah, good for us to see any little comparisons. See where the judges may differ in scores. Ooh. I think that's going to see slightly more, to be honest.
Yeah, he didn't quite make it as easily as Matty, but he got that line on the water much nicer, really clean entry, good hands.
Yeah, a couple of 8.5s in there for him to count. Perfectly upright entry there from Ben. Like you said, he maybe didn't finish as high as Matty, but entry was slightly better, so the judges have rewarded him with those very slightly higher scores. Now Bryn, with his twisting dive, back 1.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists.
And quite an unconventional optional for the platform at this level, but you know, maybe the focus is on him adding an extra twist eventually, and you know, if he can add an extra twist and execute like that, that's some really good scores. So good lead up, I think, for the future.
Yeah, great dive there from Bryn. Now Nikolaus with another variation of the back arm stand dive. We've seen this once before. Double somersault pike position, so a little bit lower down on the degree of difficulty, 2.8.
There you go, good strong balance in handstand, that's what you want.
Did pretty well to hold that. I thought it was going to go sailing a little bit more over from vertical when he kicked his feet out.
Yeah, it's quite a tough dive to control because in theory it's a really easy dive. In theory it's essentially a back 1.5 pike just from your hands. So you've got to be really aware, you've got to be really controlled in your movements and be confident of reaching back and finding the water, and it's a good job there. Even though it just washed very slightly over. But moving on to Ricardo, it's forward 3.5 somersaults in pike.
Another good dive from him, being impressed with him so far.
Yeah, really good quality, confident diving, and you know, that didn't look nervous. It looked really controlled. It wasn't too fast. It was a little bit stuck actually, but he did a really good job of just finding his hands, maintaining the awareness, maintaining the comfort and control. So great job there from Ricardo.
Now Angus, we've just seen this dive in the backward direction. I'm going to see it from him forwards. So you lose a little bit of the difficulty rating, 2.4 this one. Nice dive from him now.
Yeah, and with the low DD, you know, you want the execution to be as high as possible. And you know, Angus has been working hard on his handstand hold, the balance, so he can show that control, not get any unnecessary deductions from the judges. Just missed the end a little bit past vertical, but that's definitely got room to improve for the final.
Now Kyle, someone who has already seen some big scores this year. Just been out in America at the international event out there, scored 481.4 points in the final.
Not bad that.
Took the bronze medal with that score, so good scoring event out there, and clearly up there with the best in the world. And 3.5 somersaults tuck here.
Ooh. I'm not sure how he did that because he went so far over, but still managed to hold the splashdown. That's incredible. But yeah, Kyle's really starting to find a bit of consistency in his diving, which is really great to see.
Yeah, he's had some really bad injuries. Not been one to have much luck on the injury front. Ruptured both his Achilles on separate occasions as well.
It's pretty tough, that, isn't it? Actually, seeing Kyle and watching his recovery was something that really inspired me for my own recovery because seeing him and being able to make it back, not through one, but through 2 ruptured Achilles, gave me a lot of confidence for mine.
Now with a back 3.5 somersaults pike, big 3.6 degree of difficulty here. Wouldn't particularly know how difficult that dive is for how Noah makes it look.
Yeah, and it's not one of his favourite dives actually. It's a dive that he maybe doesn't feel as confident on sometimes, but that one looked super confident. It was a great start. Really good direction actually, which is something that I don't normally see from Noah. Sometimes he falls away a little bit, but great direction and good hands on the end.
Now Archie, in with 2.5 somersaults pike this time. First 2 round dives, not to the level he would particularly want to, but that's much better. Great dive there from Archie.
There you go. At this point, he just needs to, keep his head, keep his cool, and just focus on just developing more and more experience with each and every dive. That's the most important thing that he can gain from this competition.
Yeah, showing good mental strength there. He's happy with that one.
Yeah, enjoy it. That's what it's all about. Just enjoy it. Good to see him smiling.
Matthew Dixon opts for the same arm stand dive as Matty Lee, his training teammate, from opposite ends of the country. Matthew started down in Plymouth, whereas Matty up in Leeds now, both training in London. Back arm stand triple somersault in the tuck position.
Oh, not bad there. Good hands on the water from Matt. Sorry. Looks
Yeah.
a little bit cut on the takeoff, so I don't know if he was a little bit tense. I think they could have flown a little bit more up and over, but he did a really good job to find his hands, even though he landed a little bit short and hold down a decent rip. Now moving on to Robbie and his backward 3.5. Now, I'm sure he'll see the humour in this, but this is one that didn't go so well in training. Kicked out a little bit early and bent his legs and came out with quite a surprised face, so hopefully he does it a little bit better now in competition. Yeah, yeah, significantly better.
Something that really impresses me about Robbie is you do see him occasionally do that in training, but he's got a real competitive nature to him. When he gets in competition, he normally pulls out the good ones. I mentioned about Kyle getting a great score out in America. He obviously has come through the junior events really well last year, getting a medal at the Junior Worlds. You know, scoring 467 out in America, which is a great platform score. Yeah,
it's a huge score. That's really, really good. And, you can see the confidence with just the way he carries himself around full side.
Now, Athanasios for double somersault with 1 twist.
It's a really hard dive to execute because you have to get the flick and the speed, but then control the twist and then get back into the pike shape. There's a lot going on in this dive.
Yeah, you have to generate your somersault by leaning in that handstand a little bit more. And when you do lean, no matter whether it's on the platform or the springboards, generates extra speed, and that's hard to control. But he's done a very good job at controlling that finish there. Now Romano, long run up. Stood up next to Jackie, Jack Law's mum. One of our volunteers, we always give massive thanks to helping us out in these events.
Absolutely, these volunteers, these recorders have been around for years and years, and yeah, it wouldn't be possible without them.
Oh, that's a shame. Just came out of the right place, just almost doubted himself a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad takeoff. He had the time, just needs to be a little bit more confident with that extension towards the water, really trying to find his hands. That brings us to the halfway mark of the competition of the men's platform prelim, and should have the standings up shortly, hopefully.
Yeah, you said Noah was probably the favourite. He is currently leading after 3 rounds.
Yeah, we can see it on the screen now. Noah ahead by 14 points.
Very close there, just 30 points between 1st and 7th, and a little bit of a drop down to 8th position. Top 12 go through to the final, so currently Bryn and Archie just missing out, but plenty to play for, 3 rounds left.
Yeah, there's already a bit of a gap being pulled out there between 12th and 13th, but with the men's 10 metre platform, anything can happen. The scores can be big, the scores can be small, so you still got to stay focused at this point and take the opportunities when they come.
So into the second half of the competitions, Francesco. Inward 3.5 somersaults tuck. Another very well-worked finish. He looks like he's got good awareness.
Yeah,
not finishing
really
the dive
nice.
necessarily so high up in the air, but holds onto his rotation for the perfect amount of time and gets a clean entry through the water too.
Yeah, absolutely, really good awareness there. The dive that looks a little bit slow. Just want to see that little bit more toe point in the start and through the somersaults. I think that'll help his rotation speed. Moving on to Matty now with his back 3.5 somersaults piked. This is one that he, of course, had to compete alongside Tom, so one that he should be quite comfortable with, even though it's a very, very difficult dive. Oh, yes, Matty. That's what I'm talking about. Nice. I was hoping I wasn't going to jinx him saying he was confident with it, but he definitely delivered. That's one of the best ones I've seen him do
In terms
since
of entry
Tokyo.
as well, yeah.
Individually, you know, there's one thing doing it individually and one thing doing it alongside Tom Daly, and I feel like Tom Daly just brings that a little bit more out of you. But yeah, Matty on his own, that's one of the best I've seen him do. Well done, good job.
Yeah, awesome to see that from Matty.
He still won't be happy about something though, that's for sure.
Well, that's why he is the level of diver he is.
Oh no, I saw him crack a smile. He's all right. He's all right. He cracks a smile.
So Ben's got to follow up with the same dive. Always tough.
Yeah, it's a newer dive for Ben in his list as well. Been working really hard on the execution on this, and that's a great effort. Really good. He should be really happy with that.
I really like that. One thing you would say, compared to Matty, his form in his pike shape there was beautiful. Maybe slightly better than Matty. Obviously, Matty's dive overall was better. Great entry and finished a little bit higher, but Ben's form there, really, really good to see.
Yeah, there's very slightly different techniques there, whereas Matty goes for a bit more of a shoulder swing and a bit of whip, which means a slightly more open shape. That gets the speed, but he's got the awareness to get the control and the finish. Whereas Ben goes for a bit more of a steep start and a really strong wind in with his arms, which actually results in a slightly nicer pike shape, because he can get flat in tight.
Now we're going to see Bryn do the same dive, but with one less rotation. Quite a drop down in degree of difficulty. It's 2.9 this one. Oh, beautiful dive though. He was in 13th after the last round, but that's going to do his chances of making the final no harm whatsoever. Great dive there from Bryn.
Exactly, Bryn's got a really good pair of hands on him. Obviously with the low DD, there's a cap on how many points he can score, but gives himself the best chance of getting as many points as possible with a rip entry like that. Good job. Yeah,
it does show how much harder adding that extra somersault is. It's 0.7 degree of difficulty more. Nikolaus with a reverse 2.5 somersaults tuck. This one's 2.9.
Oh, nice.
Being spoilt here.
I know, lovely ends. That was a great start. It looks a little bit slow again, but such a confident press down towards the water. Good hold in the shape, looking at his toes, and then strong reach back for the end. Left it a touch short, but literally we're talking a fraction.
Ricardo's also shown us some lovely entries so far. Not reverse 2.5 pike, namely being one of them. Inward 3.5 here, so 3.2. Again, really good work out. When he was spinning around there, I thought potentially he might be a little bit low finishing.
Yeah.
But he works the pike out really, really well. Quite low to the water, but to be able to come out there and then extend the hips out to a great straight line. testament to Ricardo's work.
Absolutely, great skill to be able to do that.
Now Angus back 2.5 somersaults pike. This is one of the dives that we know he can score big on. He's one that can really show a rip entry off. 2.9 degree of difficulty. Oh.
Shame there, just touched too early on the press for the speed of somersault.
Yeah, real shame. Just needed to get those arms back behind when he kicked his feet out. Take a look and try and figure out where you are in the air.
Absolutely. With a dive like that, because, as I say, it's lower degree of difficulty, lower number of somersaults, you actually have more time where you can make adjustments. So if you come out in the wrong place, you can sometimes, if you have the awareness, make an adjustment to try and find the entry. But unfortunately, Angus wasn't able to do that on that occasion.
Yeah, we speak about spatial awareness. There's a couple of ways that the divers will know where they are when they're spinning round. Oh, wow.
Nice, great job.
That's one of the favourite ones I've seen Kyle do on that, I think.
Yeah, it was really good. And you can see with the height of his jump, the speed of his somersault speed, like he could genuinely add an extra somersault on that and potentially like do it well, but you know, not worth the risk on the body, and well, especially not when you can do a battering off like that.
Yeah, I think the way he kicked his feet out there and stayed nice and flat is something that I really like to see him do. Sometimes he can have a little bit of movement in his middle, arch his back, but didn't do that at all there. Really, really good dive from Kyle.
Yeah, you're right. It's one of the most confident movements that I've seen from him. That particular dive.
Now Noah, another 3.6 from him. Back arm stand, double somersault with 2.5 twists.
And here we can see the proficiency of his twisting shapes. Just rotates so quickly around that axis. No breaking form. Just looks so easy.
Yeah, really
so
good.
easy.
We're not going to get a replay in this morning's prelim, but to look at in the final how high he gets off his hands.
Yeah.
He jumps off his hands higher than some people can jump off their feet.
Yeah, where are the springs? That's amazing.
Now Archie, great recovery in the last round. Back 2.5 somersaults pike this time out.
Nearly. The form is really nice. Great pike shape. Looks very controlled. Just a little bit too slow or a little bit too early on the come out. So just needs to make a small adjustment there.
Yeah,
but the
just
foundations are good.
Slight bit of speed there, didn't it? That's probably the main thing to pick out of it. If when he's spinning around slightly slower, just need to kick those feet a little bit higher.
Exactly, yeah. Move on to Matthew and his easiest dive, which he opts to put in round 4. So quite late on his list. In his list, he's done some of his harder dives a little bit earlier on. But it's a dive that he's very confident on.
Yeah, you often see divers kind of build up the degree of difficulty towards the back end of the list. And we will see quite a few divers finishing with a forward 4.5 somersaults tuck.
It's not bad there from Matt. Just washed over from vertical a little bit. He probably expects a little bit more of himself on that. But still, 65 points. Not too bad for a prelim.
Yeah, plenty of room for improvement for the final, but still points on the board for him. Now, I mentioned the forward 4.5. Robbie chooses to do his in the 4th round. Big, big dive.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
I say it's a big dive, and then Robbie just does it and makes it look easy like that.
Cruises.
Can definitely confirm to you that that dive is ridiculously difficult. You've got to have so much spring out of the platform, and then to be able to rotate around as quickly there as you see from Robbie, you have to have the strength and the flexibility to pull into a nice tight tuck shape.
And then piked out so early to give himself time to look at the water. Wonderful.
Athanasios there with the back 2.5 somersaults pike. Really high finishing again. When you are that high finishing, the trouble is to be able to control the entry. Just kicks his feet out and lets them drift over from vertical. So the last diver of the 4th round, and currently the last diver that will make it through to this afternoon's final. He was in 12th after the last round. Romano with an inward 3.5 somersaults tuck.
Bryn did a great job of putting a bit of pressure on Romano with a good dive this round, so Romano definitely needs to respond with as good a dive as possible himself. It's okay. It's not too bad. Just left it a little bit too short, unfortunately. It looks a little bit slow on the somersault speed, but keeps in and around.
Yeah, Bryn has just nipped in front of him, but by 0.15.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
boy.
2 rounds left for those two. That looks like it's going to be a little personal battle.
Yeah, it's the main scrap that we're looking at right now.
Angus on 220 compared to them on 211 too. So he's definitely not out of the fight. So into the 5th round, back arm stand, triple somersault tuck from Francesco. Well worked on the kick. He was a little bit slow in the rotations there, just didn't manage to get his hips up into the kick out of the handstand, so just felt like it dropped a little bit more rather than rotating.
Yeah, and you mentioned before with the height that Noah was able to get from his hands, springed up into the air like someone jumping from their feet, and Francesco wasn't quite able to replicate that, which made the dive just struggle a little bit more in the end.
Now Matty with a reverse 3.5. Can he follow up his beautiful back 3.5 pike in the last round? Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Very accurate on the upright finish. Just didn't quite keep the water down as well as he did on the back dive.
Yeah, he was just a little bit early on his release, and he did a really good job to try and make the adjustment to get his hands on the water in a decent line. So he came away with some much better scores than what might have been the case had he not made that adjustment, but that is a testament to his experience and his awareness.
Yeah, I started to speak about the awareness earlier on. Divers often spot things in the pool, whether it be the water or a wall or the board. Some divers just feel when their hips rotate over their head, enable them to know where they are when they're rotating round.
Yeah. I'm personally generally a feeler.
Feeler.
What were you?
Slight bit of both. More of a feeler on front.
Okay.
More of a spotter on back.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think I was always more aware on the back and reverse spinning dive because I had a bit of both feel and the spot.
Yeah, spotting's quite difficult on the front and inward spinning dives. There's not many divers in the world that you see doing that. Some of the Chinese divers are incredible with it. You just saw there the back 2.5 with 2.5 twist from Ben. Not bad actually, just lost his form a little bit again and left it a touch short on the water, but another solid dive in his list, so he should be pretty satisfied. Moving on to Bryn now.
Bryn's definitely here to play for the final. He's stepped up his game in the last 2 rounds.
Keeping that pressure firmly on Romano. Interesting to see what he can come back with after that good execution there from Bryn. Decent from 3.5 tuck, a little bit low, again on degree of difficulty, but as we said, if he can execute the dives and minimise the deductions, then he's putting himself in a good position.
Yeah, still puts 52 points on the scoreboard for him. Nikolaus with an inward 3.5 there, just not quite knowing where he is on the come out, just comes out a little bit too late of those rotations, so you see his legs just surf over from vertical there, throwing up quite a bit of splash.
On to Ricardo, been very impressive with what I've seen actually so far. It all looks very calm, controlled.
Yeah, a lot of the good fundamentals from him. Techniques very good, entries are very good. Difficulty not quite as high as some of the other divers in the start list.
Another carbon-controlled handstand there. Yeah, good dive, good dive. He's putting a really good list together, actually.
Yeah, very
Really strong
impressed
list.
from him this morning. Oh, we're now into the afternoon.
Time flies by when you're having fun here.
So a little bit of pressure on Angus now too. You did mention that this, I think, was this the dive that he got a 10 on?
I'm pretty sure. I can't remember if it was a senior nationals or a junior nationals, but all I remember it was amazing. So let's see what he can do this morning. Admittedly, it was in the final, so slightly different energy, but if you can do it once, you can do it again.
Oh.
Unfortunately, he just left his feet a little bit too high there, so on the back 2.5 pike, he left his feet a little bit early. On that, he could have adjusted. Unfortunately, on this one, he left his feet a little bit too high, a little bit too late out of the somersault. And once you do that, it's really hard to slow it down. It's kind of over at that point. You've kind of got to try and minimise the damage by trying to save or do something on the water. So it's unfortunate there for Angus.
Yeah, you mentioned about not necessarily being likely to see a 10 in a prelim. The judges do tend to loosen up later on in the final. Maybe a little bit more tight with their markings in the prelim. Not necessarily sure why that is. It just seems to be a bit more of an accepted thing. Kyle with his big dive, 3.7 forward 4.5 somersaults tuck.
And again, actually, I spoke about bad dives, and in training, this was not good from Kyle. So it shows real good mental resilience and you know, personal confidence in himself that he can do that in training and bounce back in the competition and put it down for 85 points.
Yeah, sometimes when you do that one in training, you can almost get out of the pool and go, oh, at least that bad one's out the way.
Exactly, yeah. It's almost a bit more concerning when you do nail it in training. Then you got to try and do it again. But no, great dive there from Kyle. And we move on to Noah, our current leader.
Yeah, on for a good score currently, 324 points after 4 dives, 2 dives left to go.
Oh, yeah, great. Really
Great adjustment there when he kicks his feet out, maybe slightly early on the kick out, but just arches his back to pull it all the way around to vertical and very clean through the water too.
Again, such a strong jump, strong in his legs and his hands. The height from the platform he gains just gives him so much time to find his entries, which is exactly what you hope for as a platform diver.
Now Archie with another dive that's well up on the degree of difficulty, 3.2. Back arm stand double somersaults with 1.5 twists. You notice the dive numbers. The D at the end of the dive number represents the free position, B with being the pike and C being the tuck.
It's quite an interesting technique that I noticed there. As he kind of flicked off the board, his chin was quite far in, and I'm not sure if that affected his rotation. I'd like to see everything staying a little bit more open, then you can really snap off the board and get a bit more speed there, but yeah, more experience, more learning there for Archie.
Now Matthew, another one of the big dives for him. Did this tuck for a number of years in his list. Now increasing his difficulty by doing it pike. This was another one of the dives that I saw in training. Really, really nicely executed from him. So fingers crossed we can see something similar. Oh, yeah, so
good.
nearly.
Really good takeoff from Matt. Really, really good takeoff. That's definitely, again, improved so much. He's clearly been working really hard, not to just improve his platform, but also adding the springboard element in. And maybe there's a bit of a beneficial effect there as well. Maybe the springboard's helping him with the platform, maybe taking a bit of pressure off the shoulders, so he can just enjoy it and flow a little bit more. And that was, yeah, much easier than I've seen before. So good job there from Matt.
Yeah, of course, they are very different events, but there's a lot of transferable skills. You will see the platform divers using the springboards in their lead-ups and working techniques down on the lower boards. Of course, we can't have as many dives up on the 10 metre. The impact up there is huge.
Oh, well, if there's going to be a 10 in the prelim, that could potentially be it, because that was quality. That finish was unbelievable.
Absolutely kicked His feet up towards the sky, just disappears through the water.
I'm going to go ahead and say that Judge 3, I think, is a bit harsh with the 7.5. I feel like you get a little bit more with that. That was just quality, really, really good. Maybe a little bit pushed away from the board, maybe a little bit of a change in shape somewhere, but he's worked so hard on that dive. I remember commentating, it might have been Futures in 2022, and that's one of the dives that I picked up on that he could improve on, and he definitely has done with that. So, yeah, great job there from Robbie. And also really nice there from
I think that's beautiful in with 3.5 somersaults tuck there. He was in 10th after the last round, so had to do some work there just to maintain his position in the top 12. Definitely done it with a great rip entry.
Yeah, work well done. It's actually looking really good. Been very impressed with his diving so far today.
So now Romano was pipped into 12th place in the last round. He's got a big one for his list, 3.3 here. Back 3.5 somersaults in the tuck position. So it could be a little bit of a make or break dive for him here.
Oh, great job.
Well done.
Pressure.
Well done, Romano.
Pressure on, and he's definitely risen to it. Wow.
Really clever diving there from Romano. Wasn't massively high on the finish, but kicks his feet out in the perfect place, and really good work on the water as well to keep all the water down. So he goes from 13th place after last round, bumped up to 11th place now. Overtaken Angus. Bryn's just been pushed down to 13th.
We've got a battle on in this last round.
Yeah.
Super tight.
Very close between Bryn and Angus, just 3 points. Francesco's last dive is a reverse 2.5 somersaults tuck.
Just went a little bit early there with his lineup and caused him to drop a little bit short of vertical. Just need a little bit more patience, holding that dish shape, spot the water, then shoot those arms back, and could have had a really nice dive there because that was a good strong start.
Now Matty with his big dive in his list, forward 4.5 somersaults tuck. 380 so far in 3rd place, but a good dive here could see a very, very good prelim score from him.
You can see Matty's got a really long run up. We almost have to build a little bit extra onto the platform for him to even be able to fit it on, but he likes that momentum to carry him through to the end of the board, and that has transferred excellently from forward momentum into upward momentum and gave him plenty of time to finish off that dive well.
Yeah, very, very nice from Matty, and also room for improvement from the final. His finish, probably not as clean as he would have liked. Really, really nice dive there from him. Big score as well.
Yeah, 469 with a mistake on his back arm stand triple. He will definitely look to improve that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some near 500 scores this afternoon in the final.
Yeah, from a few of them actually. They're all capable. Just having a score change here. Judge number 1 increasing his score from a 7 to an 8. Which actually doesn't affect the total score of the dive because that score is removed anyway. But always good to be thorough and proper.
Those marks can potentially make a huge difference.
Exactly.
Just the half mark here or there from the judges could mean the difference between 1 or 2 rankings even.
There we go with Ben. He's been going dive for dive with Matty for the last few rounds.
Good to see him add this back into his list. He did do this last year. Chose to do the 3.5 in Edinburgh at the start of the year. Back with the 4.5 now.
Oh, and that is so
great
much
work.
better. So much more confident in his takeoff. Really good, confident come out. Decent hands, decent line, great scores.
Yeah, awesome work there from Ben. Remember when he was doing this dive last year, was one that wasn't making quite as easily as he would have liked, but not so much with the problem there. That was very, very nice from him.
Yeah, and Ben already had the opportunity to compete at the World Cup event in Xi'an before Matty actually replaced him in Montreal. So he's had a bit of competition experience this year other than nationals, which is good for his development.
Yeah, didn't score as well as he would have liked in Xi'an, but like you said, very good experience for him. Still only a very young lad. Oh, Bryn in 13th place, but He's definitely working hard to fight to get into that last position to go into the final.
Yeah, just pushed that dive a little bit too far forward, but he can't fault his ends.
Yeah,
His
that's why you only
awareness of
see the
his
sevens to count from the judges. The entry and aerial work was really, really nice there from Bryn, but unfortunately, just the distance away from the board is why the judges have not rewarded him with any higher scores. Now Nikolaus, his last dive. Back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists.
Yeah, just stalled a little bit coming into the pipe shape. Didn't quite get the speed on the takeoff for that momentum to carry through, which is why it dropped a little bit short on the end. But not a bad list overall there. Room to improve later on this afternoon in the final.
Yeah, that will still see him through to the final later on. So, like you said, Yona, some good stuff. He's done his work. The scores will, of course, wipe to 0 for the final. So, completely fresh start. Someone that we've been impressed with so far today, Ricardo.
Yeah, just on those back and reverse dives to finish, just a little bit off on his come-outs and lineups. Sorry, his back 3.5 to finish. His reverse is obviously really good, the reverse in our pipe. Yeah, just a little bit off of the come-out and the lineup there. Just needs a little bit more power and speed on that takeoff, but yeah, he put himself in an excellent position from the start anyway, so cruising through to the final, and he'll look to build on what he's done this morning later on.
So Angus currently occupying our last qualification spot for the final. He goes with a 3.2, so he does have a bit of an advantage over Bryn in terms of difficulty. Of course, Bryn has put the pressure on. It's going to be quite close, I think. I think that probably will be enough to do it for Angus, but we will wait and see for the scores.
Yeah, potentially just lacking a little bit on that takeoff power. I'd like to see that jump up and away a touch more, and hopefully that would help the turnover and help him land upright. But you know, he can be very good on that dive, so yeah, he's hopeful that he'll make it through to the final and will give him another opportunity to compete.
Yeah, he's pipped Bryn by 0.75 points. So we mentioned how important those half-a marks here or there can be.
0.75. Oh man, it's always tight. It's always tight. Tough.
Kyle finishes off with his twisting dive. 2.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists. Oh, again from Kyle, really showing his entries off.
Absolutely great twist there from Kyle. Good speed in the twist, good energy throughout the whole dive. Just washed over a slight bit over vertical, but
3.25 points in front of Matty, takes the lead so far. Of course, this man will definitely have something to say about it. He needs 66.95 points to go level with Kyle.
Just watching Kyle there, looked like he'd lost his chamois, threw his chamois into the water. I think it's sunk, so he's chamois-less for a little while, unfortunately.
Deep pool to go to the bottom of as well, 5.8 metres deep.
5.8? Oh my gosh.
Oh, Noah Williams.
You know, I've seen a real change and real improvement from Noah in his balance and direction of his takeoffs. Significantly better, and that has resulted in a much better end. Sometimes he has a tendency to go a bit too far forwards on that start and roll over on the end, but that, straight up, straight down, great finish.
I was just going to say, that looks like it could be closer to 500. I don't think he could get any closer. 499.95. You see him smiling after the end of that. It looks
that's literally 1/2 mark from one judge. Oh, I'd be well annoyed. I'd be well annoyed. Oh well, he's hit 500 before, so it won't be that bad. Room for improvement for the final. Let's put it that way.
Archie with his last dive forward, 3.5 somersaults back. Great to see him do a full optional list on the 10 metre as well. Still only a junior.
Yeah, that's great. Is this his first time using a full 10 metre list?
First time at a senior nationals using a full 10 metre list. Yeah,
there you go.
So great experience for him. Some good stuff in there, some stuff to work on for him as well, but lots to go forward with for the junior events.
Moving on to Matt, we've seen some good front 4.5 so far. Let's see if he can add to the list.
Yeah, also worth noting for Archie as well, he did come second at Junior Elite, so potential opportunity for him to go into some more junior international competitions.
Yeah, awesome.
Now, Matthew, big dive forward 4.5.
Oh, such a shame. That was a good takeoff. He just was a little bit anxious on that reach for the water. So he's a little bit more patience, but yeah, it's hard on a dive like that to get the perfect awareness.
Yeah, we normally see Matthew Pike out on that dive. He kind of came out with his arms a little bit first there, which is why the dive just stopped rotating and did land short of vertical.
Yeah, he looks a little bit frustrated with that one, but shouldn't be frustrated. It's a good list, as a whole. So
yeah, Robbie did not have any problems on his forward 4.5. This time out, he's doing the back 2.5, 2.5. Again, no problem making the dive, just slight over rotation from him there. So you're not going to see as big a scores as we saw on the 4.5.
I would still like to see a little bit less swing from his shoulders on his takeoffs on back and reverse especially. I don't think he needs it. I think he's got more than enough leg power to just stand these dives up without whipping, and probably give him a little bit more control and consistency on the entries. As you saw with that one, just drifted a little bit over, but good list from Robbie.
So our penultimate diver of this morning's event, Athanasios, with the same dive but with one less twist, so slightly down on the degree of difficulty, 3.2 compared to 3.6. Similar to Robbie though, just over-rotate slightly, maybe slightly more, so we see the 5.5s.
And now our final diver of the competition and of the preliminary session is Romano Wang. He's back, 2.5 somersaults with 1.5 twists, the same dive again.
Yeah, 44 points will put him into the final.
That should be quite achievable for Romano, but shouldn't speak too soon. I already have, so dig my grave a bit deeper, but let's see what he's got. Ah, it's all right, he's fine.
Comfortable.
No,
he's going to be very comfortably through to the final in the end. Last two dives, really well done there from Romano, so pushes him up to 8th position. So the scrap in the middle ended up being quite comfortable for him getting through to the final. So that concludes our men's 10-metre prelim. All of our preliminary events now finished for the weekend. One more session coming at 3 o'clock for you, which will see the final of both of the competitions we have seen so far today, the women's 3-metre springboard and the men's 10-metre platform. We will confirm the results for you very shortly.
In the meantime, we can just enjoy watching Kyle desperately searching for a chamois at the bottom of the pool. Oh dear.
Yeah, if you don't know what the use of the chamois is, the chamois are used basically to be a mini towel for the divers. Divers like to be a perfect range from obviously completely wet to completely dry. There's quite a nice in-between where you're probably the most grippiest. Sometimes if your legs are completely dry, it almost has a negative effect.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost a little comfort blanket that we have. You know, I like to keep and use the same chamois every single day in training and every single time I compete because it's something that I'm comfortable with. I know what to expect from it. It calms me down. It's almost like my little friend when I'm competing.
Your little therapist.
Exactly. But yeah, it's got a very good use. It keeps us dry during training sessions, so it keeps us warm. Because obviously the poolside can be quite cold sometimes. Not here, not in Sheffield. Absolutely boiling on poolside.
At the moment it is. In certain parts of the year it is definitely not the case, but
yeah,
currently it's better to be like that when you are diving there. You want to be warm. You don't want to be sat outside of the pool freezing because
exactly.
It stiffens your body up and makes it very hard to compete at the top level of your ability. But yeah, also interesting that divers nowadays often use some sort of sticky ointment.
Yeah, that's right.
Put on their legs and their hands, so when they are spinning round, they can have a good grip on the legs and make sure that they don't slip out of their shapes. We've seen in the past that the British Nationals divers have slipped out of their shapes rotating around, especially on the 10-metre.
Happened to me in Plymouth at Nationals in 2022. Slipped out on a reverse 2.5 on 1 metre. Somehow managed to land upright. kind of, and get some points from the judges.
Yeah, completed the dive.
Yeah, just about. It was a question of an extra twist in there, which wasn't supposed to be there, but, you know, you win some, you lose some. But it can happen, so you got to take care. That's why we use the sticky stuff, and that's why we trust in our chamois. Unfortunately, Kyle still not having any success in finding his chamois. He's reverted to go up to the 5-meter platform to have a little look off. Nowhere to be seen, Kyle. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? We'll have to go quickly buy a new one before the afternoon session, because he's definitely not diving with that one.
He's swallowed up by the pool by the looks of it. So we're just about to have the confirmation of the results for your eyes on the screen. We've gone through the main points to talk about. We mentioned Noah Williams, 499.95 points. 500 is such a benchmark score for these divers, and he's so close to getting it.
Yeah, that's a great score from Noah for a platform prelim. And actually from the top 5, you know, yeah. 439 and more is quality from those guys. So yeah, hopefully they've all got room to improve from the final. I'm sure Matt Dixon obviously wants to get up and over 400. He would have as well if his front was a touch a bit better. So yeah, will be a good final to look forward to for the boys.
Yeah, we mentioned there Angus just pipping Bryn for the last spot into this afternoon's final. Really unlucky there from Bryn. Put up a real fight in the last couple of dives with some great entries. Just unfortunately for him, his degree of difficulty was slightly lower down, so didn't quite have enough to make it through to the final. But that concludes the men's 10-meter prelim. We will take a little bit of a break for our lunch, and we'll be back at 3 o'clock for the first of our finals, the women's 3-meter final. So thanks for joining us this morning, and we hope to see you back this afternoon.
See you later.